Hold on. I want to make sure that before I start that I say thank you to everybody who took the time to come out. You know, this is a free event, but as the saying goes, nothing is free. And you know, and so even if you don't have to pay money, you have to pay attention. And I know that in a world where there's so much happening, there's so many things out here fighting for your attention. I appreciate the fact that you're giving your attention to your community and giving your attention to us, allowing us to engage in you in this way or get engaged with you. Now, I want to thank the team before I get started. Julian Gordon, you can see Julian in here. Julian's kind of a co-host and a homeboy. What's going on, Julian? How you doing, man?
What's going on? Good evening. How are you? I'm doing well.
Good. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. And Julian, as you know, we work with the best. Julian actually graduated from Stanford University. And my brother Lawrence graduated from Cornell. And I believe Charles graduated from the University of Chicago. Is that right? Did Charles go to University of Chicago?
I believe so.
Yeah. So
that is correct.
We're working with top-notch people. You know, this ain't nothing in here bootleg, ain't nothing in here second rate, ain't nothing in here. And y'all know I turned down Columbia University for my PhD. So do not mess with me. Do not come in here thinking this is some second rate Chitlin circuit shit, because that ain't what it is. That ain't what we do. Let's go ahead and get started then. Okay, so basically what we came up with as a team is something that we call the Emancipation equation. The Emancipation equation is a very simple idea, a very basic concept that we can utilize to help you figure out the framework that you want to consider when it comes to achieving the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail is financial freedom. Financial freedom does not mean that you are rich. Financial freedom does not mean you have an endless supply of money. Think about it like this. Money, it can be seen like a drug. Imagine if a person has a drug that they like, and I'm not saying that you should ever use drugs. I don't mess with drugs, but let's say there's a drug that you like. Freedom from that drug does not mean that you have an endless supply of the drug or an endless amount of money. Freedom from the drug can also mean that you're not an addict. You know, maybe you think about alcohol. Maybe you are a recreational user or whatever it is, or weed. You know, a lot of people smoke weed now, and they feel it seems like it has a lot of health properties. So I don't judge that anymore. But at the end of the day, money actually, according to Professor Andrew Lowe at MIT, money actually affects the same region of your brain as cocaine. So ultimately, most of you are affected by money on an emotional level. It either makes you real high or it makes you real low, depending on what your money situation is. So if you want to control that drug, first of all, you want to make sure, like Ice Cube used to say, don't get high on your own supply, which means spending your money and constantly, getting the high from shopping and spending and all this other stuff isn't going to get you where you want to get to. But also at the same time, you need a supply of money in order to be healthy and whole. So you want to think about where your supply is coming from. And the big challenge that you have is that you're not emancipated because your supply comes from the person who hates you. It comes from your oppressor. It comes from somebody who has who's part of a culture that spent 400 years finding ways to use money to control you, the same way a pimp controls a prostitute, the same way a drug pusher controls a drug addict. In fact, a lot of pimps, first thing they do when they want to control a prostitute is they get her hooked on drugs. And so this is real. So they got you hooked on that other man's money, and it's making you feel vulnerable. It's making you feel weak. So what I will say is that, the one thing that kind of changed everything, I know for me, was financial education, not just through getting the PhD. That was a great start. Not just through getting, the bachelor's degree and all that. You can check my record. I was the top finance student at University of Kentucky. It was actually through independent financial education. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But before I get into that, let me talk about a quick survey we did. We did a survey because we wanted to find out specifically how we could help people. We wanted to find out specifically what people wanted, not what we thought that they should have, but really what people wanted. And what we found was that the top things everyone wanted, we had 5,385 respondents, thanks to the team for executing the survey with such precision. And this is a Black Wall Street example. I am not out here by myself doing all this by myself. I have a heck of a team behind me that's getting things done. I work with the best. I told you, Julian went to Stanford, Charles went to University of Chicago, my brother Lawrence went to Cornell University. We're working with the best of the best to execute blackness at the highest level. So ultimately what we found was that stock market investing was number one, real estate investing number two, followed by entrepreneurship with products, and then with services that was tied for three, and then crypto, Bitcoin, things like that. Bitcoin's important. It's important to understand crypto. If you want to get ahead in the financial game, you cannot get ahead in the financial game without talking about crypto, because the head of the International Monetary Fund, the leading financial experts on this planet, are all talking about crypto. And if you want to get that money, you got to know where the money's going. And a lot of that money going toward crypto. The top frustrations we found were, number one, people didn't feel like they had enough time. That makes sense, because the two things that you have to invest in your life are money and time. And so what you've been trained to do since you were a child is you've been trained to trade time for money. You've been trained to trade hours, thousands, 100,000 hours of your life. You only have about 240,000 hours between the age of 20 and 65 that you're actually awake. You've traded 100,000 of that 240,000, which is about 40% of your life, 42.8% to be exact, if I'm not mistaken. About 42.8% of your life is traded with a corporate plantation for you to have enough money, not to get rich, not to get ahead, not to be a baller, but just enough money to pay some bills and grow old and pay bills till you die. That can't be fun. So ultimately, what happens is you end up with a lack of time because you've given away all your time. You sold it cheap because you didn't know the value of what you had. You didn't know what to do with it or how to invest that time in a certain way. We're here to help you with that. Next, lack of money and lack of capital. See, a lot of people talk about lack of money and lack of capital, but what people don't understand is that a lack of money and a lack of capital are not the same as a lack of wealth. A lack of money means, for most people, a lack of currency. It means you have a lack of dollar bills in your pocket. But there are so many other things in your life that you have that can serve as capital, that can serve in a wealth building capacity, like your time, like your skill, etc. A lot of y'all have a lot of skill, and you're giving all your skill away to some big corporation so that they can build their wealth and they can do whatever they're going to do. You're not doing it for yourself and doing it for your family. It's not your fault, but it's kind of the way we were all trained, including myself. Lack of knowledge and mentorship. A lot of people say, well, I want to do it, Doc, but I don't know what to do. Well, now we're going to get you started. We're going to get you right where you want to be, and you won't have any problem with that. Now, the last piece, I can do so much on this, but you have to do the rest, is just fear and self-doubt. Remember that you've been part of a 400-year-old mind trick where you've been trained to be a loyal servant and to be a reliable labor force, but you're not trained to be confident. You're not trained to be competitive. You're not trained to believe that you can compete with other people. And I think that's huge, because even if you have a lot of skill, if you look at, for example, a great basketball player like a LeBron James, LeBron would never have been able to compete in the NBA if he didn't have the confidence. So no matter how great he is, if he doesn't have the confidence, then he's not going to be able to compete. So I want to help you get the confidence and to believe that you are the survivors. You are the descendants of the survivors of the Middle Passage. The Middle Passage was one of the worst atrocities known to man, about 100 times greater than the Jewish Holocaust. And so at the end of the day, the fact that you are a survivor of all of that, you're the descendants of the greatest people in the history of this earth. You are descendants of people that have overcome the worst form of slavery known to man. So if anything gives you confidence, it should be that fact, the fact that you've survived things that would have killed most people. You were chosen to be slaves because you were able to survive slavery. Nobody else would be able to survive it, not the whites, not Native Americans, nobody else. So what I want to do is welcome you to the first part of our Black Wealth Weekend, where we're going to talk about the emancipation equation. Part one is going to focus on stock market investing. Part two is going to focus on real estate investing. I'm going to bring in my friend Andre Hatchett from the Black Real Estate School. Andre is also the president of Black Men United, just a strong Black man. He knows so much, and he works so hard, and he cares about the community. That's why I love him so much. And then the third night, I'm going to bring in my friend Julian Gordon to talk about entrepreneurship and business growth. Julian's actually here tonight as well. And Julian's a guy that really figured out, once he went to Stanford, that there's a whole lot more that he can learn through self-education. And he actually embodies that old saying that says that formal education will help you make a living, self-education will help you make a fortune. So Julian's a young brother that I really respect, and I really think he's somebody that you want to meet. So let's keep going. So here's me. They found this old picture. They just wanted to embarrass the hell out of me, but they found this picture of me back in high school with these Dwayne Wade sunglasses on here. You see that right there with where I got the pop-up glasses, and I thought I was looking fly, my little white suit, my red cummerbund. And the girl that I took to the prom, who was my daughter's mom, actually. No, my parents didn't know at the time that actually she was pregnant. So she was like sneaking and pretending to not be pregnant, but she was pregnant. They didn't know that. I don't tell them because I don't think they know to this day. But anyway, so we went to the prom, and I remember even at that time, my father had really pushed me toward economic independence as a form of manhood. He had told me that, as a man, you're 17, you got a job, you're making money, you should be paying for yourself. So literally, I bought that whole whatever, that tuxedo with my own money, and I bought my girlfriend's prom dress. So that's a little thing I never talked about, but that's what was going down. Now later on, this is before I had the financial education. This is after. So before, I was a guy like everybody else, looking for jobs, frustrated by the racism on the job, frustrated by the fact that I was a hardworking black man. I wasn't getting opportunities, and that's when I started to really introspect and find other ways. I said, okay, there's got to be a better way, and I know that this is not going to come through the system. The system is not going to produce empowered independent black people. The system doesn't produce that. The system is it's like an assembly line that produces a certain kind of black person, and I was on that assembly line, and I realized that in order for me to get ahead of the game, I had to get off the assembly line and find something unique. And so my grandmother was kind of the key to get me started on that. My grandmother got me my grandmother got me kind of in a direction where I was, as a kid, she used to talk to me about compound interest. She used to buy me these savings bonds and just do that little stuff, and I want to encourage everybody in here that if you haven't, if you haven't started doing the little stuff with your kids, the little stuff is what makes a difference. My grandmother was not a financial expert. She wasn't a PhD. She didn't own 20 businesses and all this other stuff. She was just a old lady who loved her grandson. You know what I mean? And that's all she was. And she, through love, she would buy me the savings bonds and talk to me about little things like saving my money, about credit. My grandma, up until the day she died, she was the most financially independent person in my entire family. And she didn't make a lot of money. She never made more than $20,000 a year. Maybe $22,500 was how much she made at the peak of her career, $22,500. She didn't have any debt. She had perfect credit. Everything was arranged for her funeral, all the way down to the color of the dress she wanted to wear in her casket, because she handled her business, and it was funny because I saw people in my family who made 5 times more money than her, who were broke, 5 times more money than her, who were having to go borrow money from relatives, who had horrible credit, getting evicted, had a financial emergency every month. And they even had a spouse in the house. They would even have other people in it. My grandma was a single mother. So I was like, how is a single mom who made $22,000 a year working for the government, how is she the most financially capable person in our family? Why is it that so-and-so who makes 80,000 is going to my grandma who makes 20,000 and borrowing money every couple of months? It all came down to mindset. And so before she died, that was one of the things she taught me, reminded me of, is that money is all about the mindset. If your mindset ain't right, you're going to be broke no matter how much money you got. So this is after I had financial education. This is where they want to embarrass me again. They found this video of me dancing on the internet. I don't know who made that. Somebody must put something in my Kool-Aid or something, because I don't drink. So I had to be drinking Kool-Aid. So I did a dance. But actually, believe it or not, I actually was the best break dancer in my middle school class. So so y'all eat that. All right, so anyway, let's keep going. All right, so this webinar is very different. If you like most intelligent black people who kind of want to learn like sort of traditional training, then this may not be exactly what you're used to. It's really built in a way that was sort of something I developed after I left academia, after I finished, my doctorate, something I developed specifically for black people. In a lot of my live streams, I talk. Right here, we're going to do a lot of teaching. We're actually going to do some specifics to kind of get you started. Also, if you're like a lot of people, you found that a lot of what you've seen really doesn't work for black people. A lot of what we think about when it comes to wealth has to be adjusted and customized for us. The same way, similar to medicine, they say that because black people respond differently to medications, you need black doctors who are out on the front lines developing specific strategies to treat African-American people. Well, the same thing is true when it comes to solving the wealth problems, or, your financial doctors have to come up with specific remedies to solve specific problems. And the problem with this, or the reason this is necessary, is because the government and other people don't know how to solve these problems. They're not trying to solve these problems. It is not something that is high on their priority list. It has to be high on our priority list. So, here's some things that that I was able to sort of figure out and come up with. Right here, you're seeing one crowd we met in Dallas, but I can show you crowds in London, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, LA, all over the world that are equally full. And it excites me because when I first started talking about black wealth and entrepreneurship and economic power, A lot of people told me it wasn't going to work. They told me that black people don't want to hear that stuff. Black people want to watch World Star and all that. So ultimately, I was able to really develop something that is working. It's working. And what I love about it is not the fact that it's just the fact that it's working. It's the fact that we are independent. We are free. We are a black owned company. I can say whatever the hell I want, whenever I want, at 2 o'clock in the morning. I ain't got to ask permission. I ain't got to ask forgiveness, and ain't nobody gonna show up at my door and punish me. And that allows us to be very dangerous, right? Because you know how other people feel about that, but at the same time, it makes me very excited because it lets me know that as long as I'm breathing on this planet, we can actually run that ball down the football field. Anybody who follows football knows that excited feeling you get when you finally break through the line and you're running down the field and there's nobody between you and the end zone. So I don't know if I'm gonna pull a hamstring on the way to the end zone. I don't know if somebody's gonna sneak up and tackle me, but I see nothing but empty field between myself and the end zone, and I'm gonna run. It's gonna be run, Forrest, run until the day I die. So right now what we do is we go around to cities all around the globe. One of the ways that we were able to figure out how to lay out this framework is by talking to people. We went to over 50 cities on the Black Economic Empowerment Tour, and we paid for it ourselves. Didn't go beg for no money. It wasn't Black Liberation brought to you by Coca-Cola or Walmart. This was funded by Black people, and Black people came out, and I got a chance to meet a lot of people all throughout the world and understand what I can do to be most helpful and most effective in terms of what we're trying to do as a community. But I'm not doing it by myself. I have a great team behind me. I also have you as somebody who believes in the same thing. So it's not so much about me or about our company. It's really about this broader mission that we're all trying to pursue. So the first question is, what if I'm broke? What if I ain't got no money right now? Well, the thing you got to understand about wealth is this. Wealth is not about where you are right now. Wealth is much more about where you're going. It's about direction. It's about trajectory. Anybody who understands mathematics knows a concept called a vector. A vector ain't nothing but an object that points that reflects two things. It reflects the direction and it reflects the rate at which you're traveling. So basically you are a vector. It's not about what you are becoming something. The question you must ask yourself is, what am I becoming? What you're becoming determines more about you, or it says more about you than what you actually are. So it's like if I'm driving in a car and I'm in Cincinnati, but I'm driving 100 miles an hour to Detroit. Well, I'm not going to be in Cincinnati more than 15 to 20 minutes because I'm driving 100 miles an hour to Detroit. So you want to think about what you're becoming. So let me show you something real quick on compound interest. This is first concept my grandmother introduced to me. In fact, Albert Einstein said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. And my grandmother, when she used to give me those savings bonds, she was the first person to kind of explain to me how I didn't understand it, honestly. I was like, how is it that you paid $50 for this bond, but it's going to be worth $100 in 8 years? I didn't understand that. And she explained compound interest. And when I dug deeper into compound interest, in terms of advanced mathematics and all this other stuff, I really became utterly fascinated by how anybody who understands compound interest will realize that compound interest allows people to build wealth. And what happens is, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who build wealth off of compound interest, and they get the wealth from people who don't understand compound interest. So you throw things away because you don't know the value of what you got. So here's an example with Michael, Jennifer, and Sam. Each of these three people, let's say just basic retirement. Each of these three people, let's say they saved $1,000 a month and earned an average of 7%, which is a little bit lower than what the stock market has earned over the last 30 or 40 years. But let's say you're earning 7%. Well, if Michael saved $1,000 a month from 25 to 35 and then stopped, let's say Jennifer says, oh, I ain't got no money right now. I'm gonna wait until I'm 35. So it's to start saving. So she does the same 1,000. And then Sam waits till he's 45. Well, you can look at this chart and you can see that if they all take their money and leave their money in their account and just let it grow, Michael has such a head start that they will never catch up with him. And notice, look at how this gap between Michael and Jennifer grows as time grows. Michael set himself up early by paying his dues early, positioning himself early, and his money's working for him, and his money's growing at a really fast rate. It's what in mathematics we call this increasing at an increasing rate, or what's the word? Convex. I think it's convexity. Convexity is where you're not just going faster, but you're accelerating faster than the person behind you. And this is why you see the wealth gap. This is why you see some people that look like they're just so rich that they're just making money on top of money, and the money's just coming from everywhere. Then you see some people who can't seem to get ahead. Well, a lot of this is because of the mathematics behind how they position the few resources they have. So remember, if you're a spender, then you're out of the game. You can't play this game. You can't play this game if you're a big spender because you're so busy trying to impress people at the club or impress people with your new red bottoms that you're missing out on the whole wealth building game that's taking place. So anyway, let's keep going. So by the end of the class, what I want you to have is kind of a step-by-step blueprint of escaping the corporate plantation, including assets like stocks, bonds, real estate, and becoming an entrepreneur. This is what I call the three pillars of wealth: stocks and bonds, real estate, and ownership of business. What you have to understand is that you do not have to run a business to own a business. Every Black family should have a family business. No excuses. Stop telling me that we ain't cut out for this and we can't do this and we can't do that. Stop talking to me about what you can't do. Let's talk about what you can do. And I know you can do more than what you're doing because I know I can do more than what I'm doing. So let's just kill all that language right now because it's stupid. All right. So who am I? Well, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. In case you just jumping into the family, I founded a few different platforms for Black people. This was my answer when I left my corporate plantation. I got tired of teaching a room full of non-Black kids at Syracuse. I want to say a room full of white kids, but people, when I say that, people get mad at me and think I sound racist or something. It's not racism. It's just honest to God truth. I didn't feel like I was really contributing to the Black community by helping rich kids become richer. It just didn't make sense to me. I felt like an academic nanny. I felt like a nanny, like I was breastfeeding, like breastfeeding these little kids, teaching them how to go to Wall Street, make all this money. And I'm like, no, I need to be feeding my community, not feeding these people that don't even halfway like me. And so I founded a few platforms: the Black Wealth Boot Camp, the Black Business School, which we have almost 50,000 students, the 48-hour business school, which is probably the most awesome new program that we have in place, the Your Black World Coalition, which has been around about a decade, and Black Millionaires of Tomorrow, which is the first business school for children that I know of that I've seen anywhere. And it is awesome. It fits the core belief that I believe every black child should have their first college professor by the age of 7 or 8. Okay, by the way, I'm hearing a little bit of an echo. I don't know if you guys have me echoing deliberately, but okay, thanks. All right, so basically what I want to do is I want to show intelligent Black people what they need to do in order to achieve their quote unquote financial Juneteenth. Here are a few things that I've done through the years, a few places I've taught. I taught University of Kentucky, Indiana University, Syracuse University, the Ohio State University. It's important to name all this and lay all this out because I don't want you to think for a second that, that this is some, snake oil salesman or some guy who's out here just talking. A lot of people talk about wealth. They talk about money. I paid my dues. I did 10 years of studying about 7 or 8 hours a day. In PhD programs. You can go online, read my dissertation. You can find my dissertation committee. My chairman was a guy named Andrew Caroli, who went to Cornell actually, or he taught at Cornell, as well as some other people on my committee who were outstanding. David Hirschleifer. Go look those guys up. These are leading financial experts in the world, not leading Black financial experts, not leading white, just leading period. And so this is what I fought through in order to get here. I sat next to the smartest students in Russia and China and everywhere else because finance professors make the most money. So we attracted the smartest people. So there's nothing like being in class, where the person next to you tells you that they got the second or third highest math score in all of China, like stuff like that. Those are the kinds of people I had to go to school with. And the cool thing about it, though, is that you really learn what you're made of when you're in situations where you feel overwhelmed. When I started my PhD program, I was scared to death because I had never been in an environment like that. I mean, imagine going from college. When I was at University of Kentucky, school was easy for me. I'd never made good grades in high school. My grades were D's and F's all through school. Got to college, had a baby, decided I wanted to work hard in school, and I applied the same energy towards school as I applied to sports. So as a result, I became really, really good at school. It became really easy. I was, top student, straight A's, all this other stuff. So then you go from that to a PhD program where you're literally like getting D's and F's on your report card or on your tests because the tests are so damn hard. I'd never been in a situation like that, and I didn't honestly know how I was going to make it through. But I felt like I was fighting to get through to something that was better on the horizon, something where I would be able to help some people. And now I know why. Now I know why God put me through all of that, because now I have no fear when it comes to almost any concept that relates to finance, money, wealth, and investing. And I know this is one of the most important things our people need. So anyway, let's keep going. So, this is a good program for you if you are, willing to invest in yourself. and don't want to look for handouts. Also, if you know that you're hardworking and educated, but you can't understand how to get free, you're kind of confused, a little bit frustrated. And also, if you're seriously committed to creating generational wealth, remember, you're not doing this just for yourself. You're doing this for your children. You're doing this for your grandchildren. You're doing this for people that are not yet born. So do not for 1 second think that this is all about you and this is all about the next 3 or 4 years. This is about all of us, and it's about the next 500 years. I believe that in this generation, we can plant some seeds that will benefit us for the next 500 years. This is also not good. If this is not good for you, if you're looking for a get rich quick scheme, a lot of people push that kind of stuff. I'm not a big fan of that. Also, if you're cheap, you're trying to just save your way to wealth and all those, so that doesn't really work, because if your money's not growing, then what's going to happen is people who have their money working for them are going to accelerate right past you. Also, if you're just lazy, if you don't make sacrifices and can't think like an investor, then this isn't for you. I'll probably end up pissing you off, so you may want to just go home. All right. So, one of the things I want to point out, I remember at some point there was a controversy over my conversation about the wealth gap. And I want to make sure I give clarity on understanding like what the wealth gap is and giving context. So you see here on the left-hand side, you've got sort of people with education and without education. And the point of all of this is to show that no matter what your degree is, if you're Black, your wealth level is far lower than people who are not Black. Right. In America, you see that those are college degrees. If you're white, it's about 8 times of difference, 23 versus 180. If you have a graduate professional degree, the gap closes a little, but not much, 84 versus 293. And the same thing is true for all the people in the population. This is from the Economic Policy Institute. Now, what does that really say to me? What does that say to me? And why do I have a view of the wealth gap that makes me sound like a lunatic? It took me 45.2 years to come up with that viewpoint. That's why I understood when I said that the wealth gap is an illusion. I knew people were going to get mad at me, and the people they said, what? It's an illusion. Are you crazy? What's wrong? And I said, well, you know what? I have to be honest with you. I spent so many years studying the wealth gap. I spent so many years talking about the wealth gap. I would not have agreed with myself 2 years ago. I would not have agreed with myself before I started teaching finance, but I agree with myself right now on this issue, and I'm going to stick to it. And here's why. The reason I say that the wealth gap is a little bit of an illusion is because what it does is it causes you to focus on a deficit poverty mindset. When you focus on the wealth gap and you're constantly focused on the fact that you have less than white people do, what you end up doing to yourself is you end up teaching yourself that you have nothing, that you have no power, that you can't invest, that there's nothing you can build. Now, let me tell you this. I've been traveling. I've been to a lot of countries in the last few months deliberately because I wanted to stop being so Americanized, and I didn't want to spend every day complaining about Donald Trump. So I've gone to Guyana, St. Martin, Trinidad, Jamaica, and London, and probably another country I've forgotten about. And let me tell you this. I see people in those countries with 1/10 who would kill to have what you got. And they are building things because they have dignity. They have dignity. Their dignity means that they say, look, my little business ain't much, but it's mine. So even though I'm not making $50,000 a year or even $30,000 a year, I still know how to start a business. I still know how to build something for my family. I still know how to build something that's mine. And damn it, I'm gonna do it. As opposed to when I come home, I hear so many people. I hear people literally that make $70,000 a year or $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year, $60,000 a year, who say, oh, well, Black people don't have anything, and look at what white people have, and I don't have anything because we're broke and we ain't got nothing, and it's very interesting. If all you do is focus on this idea that you have nothing, then ultimately you're going to become exactly what you believe that you are. You're going to be a person who has nothing. So because if you think you have nothing, then why try to build something? So if you have nothing, you'll build nothing, and then you really won't have anything. So let's keep going. So we're not really going to catch up to people that have this 400-year lead. It would take about 29 Oprahs to make just one Bill Gates. I ain't trying to make you into Bill Gates. I don't know how to do it. I can't make myself into Bill Gates, so I'm not going there. But you know what? I bet you this. I bet you this. I bet you ass this right now. I bet you that I'm going to have a grandchild who will be a Bill Gates. I bet you I'm going to have a great-grandchild who's going to be an Oprah or a Bill Gates. I bet you that much, because I understand that the most important factor in the wealth building equation is time. So if you give me 100 years to build a Bill Gates, I can do that. I can do that. but I can't build them overnight because of the Bill Gateses that you know and the Oprahs that you know weren't built overnight. So anyway, let's keep going. So we can still, the problem is that we can still get free and we can end up spending our money in strange ways. Like, for example, you'll see people that will go out and they will talk about how they spent $350 on their shoes and spent, $200 on some headphones and spent a bunch of money on some red bottoms. But then they, when it comes to like a $5, $10, $20 book, they say they can't afford it. Well, I can tell you a lot about who you are and how you think by how you spend your money. If you ever want to really look in the mirror and really feel bad about yourself for a minute, because I've gone through this too, go look at how much you keep track of where you spend your money, and imagine that you're trying to guess a person's personality by where you spent your money, and guess a person's value system by how they spend their money. It'll tell you a lot about yourself. So why this and why now? Why are we right now talking about what we can do, what we can build, the emancipation equation? Well, number one, technology has been an ultimate game changer. I feel very bad for anybody who doesn't understand or try to follow the latest technology. I really do, because it's not that hard to do, and it's really shifting the wealth dynamic throughout this world. It's really shifting where money is going. It's literally like the shifting of tectonic plates that causes an earthquake and moves massive amounts of land from one place to another. That's what you're seeing with wealth. You're literally seeing people now who are worth $50 million who didn't have any wealth a few years ago, and they got that wealth from the dinosaurs, from the people that didn't adjust. Some of those dinosaurs are black. Ebony Magazine, unfortunately, is a little bit of a dinosaur. Ebony Magazine, they were really good at making money in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and then when the 90s and the 2000s came in, they didn't want to adjust. They became a little bit of a dinosaur, and now you see Ebony Magazine struggling quite a bit. So technology has really been a game changer. That's why you want your kids on top of technology. Compound interest is a big deal. The earlier, the better. If you plan ahead with compound interest, you can easily turn the basic formulas where you can turn a poor person into a rich person, a poor family into a wealthy family. You just have to start making those investments now. If somebody in your family had known the emancipation equation in 1955 and started making consistent investments back then on your behalf, you would be somewhere right now counting your millions and managing your millions. You'd be making real money moves, not Cardi B money moves, but I'm talking about real life money moves where you're actually buying and selling properties and all kinds of stuff. So here's what works. I'm going to show you an example of a really interesting white dude named Gary V. He cusses a lot, so I guess that's why I think he's a little bit of a kindred spirit. And Gary V, he's Russian, and he didn't speak English, and he didn't have any money, but him and his family were business owners. They ran a liquor store, and he built his father's business up and made a bunch of money. Now he gets on the internet and cusses every day, and everybody listens to him because even though he cusses, he knows exactly what he's talking about. I don't know anybody who cusses a lot. I never cuss. I never use profanity because, by God, that's so disrespectful and so inappropriate. Anyway, so Sharif Abdul Malik, this is another guy that I really respect. And I was kidding about cussing being inappropriate. Some of y'all really may not know me well enough to know that I was just full of shit right now. Right there when I said that. Sharif Abdul Malik, I love Sharif because Sharif is the kind of young person that you want to reproduce in every family in America. Every black family in this country needs a young brother like Sharif. If every black man in America took a class from Sharif Abdul Malik on how to be a black man, then all these issues that you see with black men around America anyway would disappear overnight. If every brother thought like Sharif, and let's say you had Sharif and Louis Farrakhan, and maybe you throw me in there somewhere, maybe and Andre Hatchett and guys like that were teaching young black men how to be men, then we wouldn't have, our biggest problem would not be what's going on, why are black men being left behind. Our biggest problem would be, why does everybody hate black men? Because they own everything. We would literally be beyond where the Jews are in terms of having a level of power that is disproportionate to our representation in society. Because I'm gonna tell you like this, Sharif is a guy he's 25, but he's wise beyond his years. I had him on my YouTube channel, and Sharif is a good friend. He runs WeBuyBlack.com. And Sharif did exactly what I've been telling you guys to do. Exactly what I've been telling you all to do. When you send your kids to college, don't send them there so they can get a piece of paper and go beg for a job. Sharif went to college. He went to HBCU, was Howard. Sharif went to Howard, and he wasn't even in business school. But he said these business school students don't even really know anything about running a business. They think that if you put on a suit and a tie, that somehow that makes you a businessman. Whereas Sharif's daddy and his mother had taught him how to do business at an early age. So Sharif started taking advantage of digital technology and started We Buy Black. Now, We Buy Black has over 40,000 products from Black-owned businesses, 40,000 products of 4,500 business owners. And they get 150,000 web visitors per month. Now, I don't know how much money Sharif is making, but imagine if out of that 150,000 people per month, if every person spends $10 on that platform, well, that's $1.5 million per month in revenue coming through that particular business. That's a Black Wall Street. That is one of the Black Wall Streets that we're going to have in the future. This is another child that came to the All Black National Convention. He's not a child. Sharif's not a child. This kid is a child. His name is oh my goodness. Ethan. I'm sorry, Ethan. Ethan has he has this interesting kind of product line. And oh, hey you guys, by the way, I can hear a little background noise now. I just want you guys to know that. Anyway, Ethan has a product line that he calls the E. Alexander Smith collection, and he came to the All Black National Convention and sold his collection. He sold his shirts, and I thought he was gonna make little kid money. You know, little kid money is like $50, $100 or whatever. I know I'd have been happy when I was 12 to make $100. Ethan made, I think, what was it, $3,000 in an hour, and I said, oh my God. That's insane. Like, how can a 12-year-old kid make $3,000 in an hour? Well, it's because he figured out part of the emancipation equation. He understood the importance of scaling up. He understood that there should not have to be a connection between how many hours you work and how much time you give away versus how much money you make. That you shouldn't think, okay, I'm gonna trade time for money. So if I want to make an extra $100, I got to work an extra 3 hours or extra 5 hours because I make so many dollars an hour. His mother, who actually is into finances, his mother taught him a lot about how people make money, and he positioned himself to do that. So Ethan made $3,000 in an hour. There's another child that was at the convention, Journey. Her business is called Black Butterfly Beautiful. All your kids need to have businesses. I don't care if the businesses they aren't making any money. When you help them start a business that isn't making money when they're young, it positions them to start a business that's making real money when they grow up. It changes their mindset. A child that makes a lot of money in a short period of time will never want to go and just, slum away for $25 an hour. They're going to be like, wait a minute, I remember when I made $2,500 in an hour. I want to get back to that. So Journey runs a business with subscription boxes, and Journey's on her way to college, and she's going to be able to substantially contribute to the cost of her college because she's making several $1,000s a month with her subscription boxes. So these are some examples. So what I want to ask you, or sort of talk to you about, is, why am I doing this? Well, what I can say is that I can trace in my life, the toughest moments back to sort of not having enough money. I remember, the time when I didn't have any money to pay my rent. I had to literally leave my apartment in the middle of the night in order to go somewhere where I had another place to stay. Even with all the education and everything, I found that I was still squeezed out. You've seen Barack Obama. I mean, he's one of the most powerful Black men in the world, and you saw what they did when he even became president. So no matter what level you're on, there's always that racism. Some of you who are fellow corporate plantation Black people like myself, you know what I'm talking about, where you get in there and the higher you go, the air gets thinner, and the less Black people you have around you and the more surrounded you start to feel, which can lead to a type of depression you feel because you're thinking, wait a minute, I'm successful, I did everything right, why am I not happy? And that's what I remember going through. And so my goal is was to create a process where I can help set 200 Black people, 200 Black families free this year and help build a Black Wall Street. I want to start in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky. Even though I'm not sure all the time how much they love me. I know they love me. A lot of them down there love me, and some of them do, some of them don't. But I'm earning their love. I want to work for their love and earn their love by showing them that I love my hometown no matter what. So we're going to start in Louisville, but we've also got operations in Philadelphia. We're developing operations in London, and we're going to have operations all around the country. And so I'm going to start with Louisville, and we're going to go ahead and make an investment to build a Black Wall Street in Louisville, Kentucky. Also, I wish I'd learned these things at an early age. I wish that somebody had taught me what I'm teaching you and your children. If they taught me these things when I was 7 or 8, I would have been a whole different kid. I wouldn't have had, 8 or 9 years of thinking I was going to be an athlete one day. I wouldn't have had 8 or 9 years of horrible grades. I wouldn't have had, 20 years of, working in environments where I wasn't happy, where I wasn't appreciated, I would have been much happier at an early age. I would have, if I could do my life over again, I would spend literally all my time learning how to be a businessman, how to run a business, or how to be a business period man, like Jay-Z says, right? Education is the key, right? So Black leaders will tell you this. You have a lot of Black leaders who feel, I think, they're doing their best for the Black community. But the question is it really their best? Well, when they tell you education is the key, the question is what kind of education? Are they telling you that you should go to school so you can get a good job? Even when the Black wealth conversation comes up and they're finding like what's the solution for Black wealth in America or Black economic challenges, they always talk about getting jobs, going to these corporations and getting more jobs. I don't believe in that. I don't think Black people will benefit by getting more jobs. It's a temporary, it's like a Band-Aid when you have cancer. Maybe the Band-Aid or maybe some dopamine or whatever those opioids are called. Not dopamine, but you know what I'm talking about. Whatever that crap is that everybody's getting addicted to. Maybe some OxyContin will make you feel better. In spite of the pain from your cancer, but it doesn't actually help solve the problem. It doesn't actually help cure the cancer. So white education honestly doesn't breed Black freedom. There's nothing that a white person has ever written in a curriculum that I know of that will train Black people to truly be free of the power of the same white man who makes money from developing the curricula for that Black child. No disrespect to anybody else. I ain't fighting nobody. I'm not hollering at anybody. I'm not getting mad at anybody. I'm just telling you the truth. So let's keep going. So what is a financial Juneteenth? You've heard me talk about that a lot. Well, some people think that we got Juneteenth when Lincoln freed the slaves. Well, that's not true. Lincoln did not free the slaves. Lincoln fired the slaves, as my brother Julian likes to say. He fired them, and they literally were out there, and they didn't know where to go, what to do. They didn't know how to survive in an economic system that was built on competition. So they did the only thing they knew how to do, which was to basically become indentured servants again. So they pretty much went from being slaves, they went from being no paid slaves to low paid slaves. And what's crazy to me is that you had the slavery system that lived for 250 years. And then now we have another system for the last 150 years where it's basically sort of glorified slavery. It's sort of slavery that's elevated. People think that in order to be a slave, that you have to be unpaid. Well, that's not true. You don't have to be unpaid to be a slave. All you have to do is have a lack of freedom. A lack of freedom is what makes you a slave. I know slaves that make $1 million a year. If you have no freedom, then you're a slave. I hate saying it, but it's true. So let's keep going. All right, so basically, a financial Juneteenth to me means that you don't have to worry about money. You control your own financial destiny. That's what a financial Juneteenth means individually. It means not so much that you have an unlimited supply of money, but that you have enough money that money's not an issue. And that was something I always wanted. I realized that was my relationship with money. I didn't need to have all the money in the world. If I wanted to make more money, I would have taken my PhD, went to Wall Street, and did financial engineering and made $10 million a year. I didn't really need to make all the money in the world. I just didn't want money to be an issue, and I wanted to be in a position where people can't control me with money. And so that's a financial Juneteenth individually, in my opinion. A financial Juneteenth collectively would mean for Black people understanding and owning entire supply chains. That means that, when you have a great idea, like say hip hop music was a great idea that came from Black people. So the question is, did we control hip hop from mind to money to manufacturing to market? Do we control hip hop from its conception to its production to distribution to monetization to marketing? Did we control hip hop? No, we didn't. I interviewed some of the godfathers of hip hop, the founding fathers of hip hop from the 1970s, and these brothers said, I asked them, I said, well, did you know that hip hop was going to make this much money? If so, why didn't you position yourselves to get some of that money? And they said, well, because all we were doing, they said back then, man, we weren't even thinking about money. We were just thinking about, having fun, having a party. And I said, really, that's it? And he said, yeah, that's all we was thinking about was finding the party. And I said, well, that's probably part of the problem we have for Black people is we got too many people looking for the party, but not looking for the power, not looking for the purpose, not looking for the avenue through which you can actually have the party and still own the party, still collect the money at the door of the party, control the marketing of the party, control the production and distribution and monetization of all the music that's being played at the party. So at the end of the day, every party has to have a purpose. Every party must lead to power. But a lot of times you have what I call powerless pity parties, where you have the party and you're having all the fun. And while you're sitting around having fun and doing the electric slide and everything else, other people are positioning themselves to control your access to the party. They're controlling your access to your own music. They will take music you created and then sell that shit right back to you. How much sense does that make? It makes no sense at all. And that really ultimately, while we can certainly get mad at those who take advantage of our lack of understanding, we must also ask ourselves, why are we not promoting the understanding necessary to ensure that we're not going to be open to that type of exploitation in the future? So I don't, so I'll say also the last piece of a financial Juneteenth to me is not relying on other cultures to give us handouts or jobs. A lot of people see Black people as a charity case. They see the African-American community as a powerless group that has no ability to control its own destiny, no discipline to plan for its own future, no resources to build its own assets, its own collectives, its own organizations. They see us as a group of people who, the white liberals, for example, see us as a charity case. The conservatives see us as people that can be a servant class that will allow them to make money for their big corporations. That's why they give you jobs. They're not giving you jobs because they want to support you and develop your strength. They give you jobs because they want you to support them and to develop their strength. So let's keep going. So I'm about to show you the emancipation equation, which is kind of a threefold pathway to freedom: stocks, and bonds, real estate, and owning a business. Those are the three things you want to do if you want to become financially emancipated at some point in the near future. And a lot of you, thousands of you are on here right now because that's what you want. And I'm going to break it down for you. Now, what I want to ask you real quick is I want to ask you for permission. I have a new program that we put in place that is the best thing that we've ever created. It's something that will guide you and support you every step of the way to reaching your emancipation. And all I ask is that in exchange for us doing all this for free, and I'm going to do some heavy duty teaching to continue. I like to believe I've already done some teaching, but I haven't even really gotten started yet. But after we're done, I would like to get your permission to do a short pitch to kind of show you what we have in place. And if you find it to be worth your while, I hope that you will consider joining us because this is something that is important for us to be positioned to pursue this mission in the long term. We're here with you forever. This is something we want to do in terms of carrying you and supporting you all the way to the finish line. So it's all up to you. And if you're okay with that, I hope you'll type yes in the chat box and just say, okay, yes, the thumbs up. Okay, I see yup and yes, and I need it. Okay, good. All right, well, don't tell me you need it until I tell you what it is. Don't that's dangerous to say I need it before somebody tells you what it is. But we're gonna break it all down for you. And we have our team of experts that have put together something that we believe. Remember, all of us went to the best universities. All of us have education at the highest levels. But a lot of these universities are now charging $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year. And we believe we can create something that's 10 times better for 1/10, not even for a much lower price, not even 1/10. It's probably 1/20th or something like that. So let's keep going. All right. Also at the end, if you haven't gotten a free copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, I'm going to give you a free copy of that. I'll also show you how to get access to the Black Business School absolutely free. So that's another thing. In fact, if you go look at the Black Business School right now, if you wanted to sign up for the all-in package of the Black Business School, it would be about $3.99 a month. Again, which for the expertise that's there, it's a great price. But we can actually show you how to get in there absolutely free, and that would be part of the new program that I'll tell you guys about in a second. So let's start with stocks. Let's talk about stocks and the stock market. And it's important to talk about this because so many of us are missing out on the stock market by just not participating. And it's absolutely driving me crazy because there is so much money being made in the stock market. It's kind of ridiculous. John Rogers in Chicago, a brother who is a billionaire. He's a billionaire. He's one of the good ones. You know, I met John a couple of times. He runs Ariel Capital Management. John wrote an excellent article where he literally just said he was literally begging Black. He wrote the article 8-9 years ago before the market really took off. And he was begging Black people, please don't run from the stock market because there's money being made hand over fist. All you got to do is be consistent. All you got to do is hold out through the storms. It's going to be fine. And I applaud him for writing this article because, you don't understand. You don't understand. The wealth gap is growing because there are different people that have different methods of earning their money. If you are making your money and earning your wealth the old-fashioned way, then it's a lot like you are, like you're riding a tricycle and everyone else is driving a Porsche. And you're wondering why your tricycle, you're pedaling your butt off and wondering why your tricycle is falling further and further behind the Porsche. There's a reason for that. You know, the term investment vehicle is more than just a figure of speech. Investment vehicle literally means that there are different vehicles, different financial cars, if you will, that people are using, and some people are going at light speed. And so ultimately, the stock market is something, even if you don't want to participate fully, you got to understand it. It ain't that complicated. Monkeys can understand the stock market, and I'm not joking. This isn't me making a racist metaphor. This is actually true. So let's talk about it. Let's jump in, because I start getting all crazy when I start thinking about it, because it just drives me nuts. All right. So basically, what I want to show you is how you can start investing in the stock market for as little as $5 a day. Almost anybody on here can afford $5 a day. If you can't, I will give you $5. So hit me up and I'll send you $5 or something, because I feel bad for you. Like they say, if you have no penny, a hay penny will do. If you have no hay penny, then God bless you. You know that song? But so if you can't get $5 together, the amount of money it takes to go to go get some chicken or whatever it is you might want to buy, then we'll find another way. But we got to find a way to get here. All right. So secret number one to stock market success. Let's jump in here. So myth number one about the stock market is this, and I want to make sure this is 100% abundantly clear to anybody listening. Stop thinking that you need a ton of money to be an investor in the stock market. You don't need a bunch of money. You don't have to have 100 bands in your pocket and money on top of money. It literally takes very little money to get started. Most investors actually don't have very much money. They just have a certain mindset that's a wealth building mindset. The truth of that is that you need to get started. Everybody needs to get started. After you're done, that will be your assignment. I need you to go start investing at a very basic level. Now, the few things I want to give you, a few disclaimers about the stock market are that, number one, past performance does not predict future performance. Anybody who says that that's the case is lying to you. That's just not true. You can't tell the way the stock is going to go based on the past. I'm your educator. I'm not your investment advisor. So I'm not here to tell you exactly what to invest in and all that stuff. Don't ask me, because I won't answer that question, because that's not a question that should be answered by anybody. It's a question. It should be one that's based on setting up adequate portfolios, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. Third, you can and you probably will lose money in the stock market, but the goal is to just make more money than you lose. When you are an investor, when you think like an investor, you've already factored in the losses that you're going to take. You've already factored in the fact that you're probably not going to make money all the time. And what a lot of people sort of don't understand is that if you're squeamish, you're going to end up missing out on opportunities, because what's going to happen is the minute that something goes wrong, you're going to give up. And what you find with most investors is that most investors are people that know that they're going to take some losses, but they are under the assumption that they're going to make more than they lose. Like that book I've been reading, I told you guys about how the Jews invented Hollywood. Well, most of those Jews who built, MGM, 20th Century Fox, Columbia Pictures, Universal Studios, etc., they took major losses. They lost a lot of money at times, but they made a lot more than they lost, and they built institutions that have lasted for over 100 years. So ultimately, you're going to lose money at some point as an investor, but if you're consistent, then investors on average do better than most people. So here's what you need to know about stocks. First thing is, and I'm going to talk to you about this, how to think like an investor. Two, you got to learn how the stock market works. And then three, you got to learn the terminology. Now, some of you who are in the Black Stock Market program kind of have seen a lot of this, but it's important to kind of reiterate this. I mean, even every time I teach it, literally I've been teaching for about 25 years now. Every time I teach it, I learn something new. I see it in a different light. So, one of the things I want to encourage you to understand is that to be a good teacher, you must be a good student. So ultimately, the other thing I can show you is how to buy your first share of stock, also how your parents could have been millionaires by now, and also where stock prices come from. Some people don't really know, some people don't know where stock prices come from. They sort of think they just sort of come from this sort of magical place, or that somebody just makes them up. They sit in a room and just say, what's going to be the price of this stock today or that stock today? And they don't understand that there is a process, there's a methodology to value in this. Now, everybody who's on Instagram, it's gonna tune us out in about 20 seconds, but just stay online, and I'm going to start it all over again, and you can come back in. Okay, so let's keep going. Also, financial ratios. Financial ratios are important for understanding investing. I'll talk to you a little bit about those too. Now, in this short time, what I cannot teach you is and again, no one can really teach you how to pick the right stock at the right time. There are people who make money doing that. There are people who make money claiming that they can pick the right stock at the right time, but those people are lying. They just may not even know that they're lying. They just haven't seen the thousands and thousands of research papers that I've read that pretty much say that this is not possible to do. But also, the other thing I won't show you is we're not going to talk about complex trading instruments and strategies. We're not going to talk about high risk, rapid fire trading. Because when you hear about people losing a lot of money in the stock market, it's because they become day traders or they become, these sort of rapid fire, what they call timers, market timers, people trying to buy the right stock at the right time. Those people don't, a lot of them don't do well. But what happens is the reason you're confused is because you'll typically meet up with somebody who did do well. You'll meet up with somebody who was one of those lucky people who has made money there. And you'll also, here's the other thing though, two things. One, the people that lost money aren't going to tell you. They're not going to sort of market to you, hey, I went and I invested in the market and I lost $500,000. So you're not going to hear from those people. Number two, even the people who make money are not going to tell you when they lost money. They're not going to tell you about the times where they lost their shirt. They're going to tell you about all the times that they made money, because that's what people tend to do. I think it's called self-attribution bias. Self-attribution bias. One of my dissertation committee members, Dr. David Hirschleifer, wrote about that. Self-attribution bias is basically where we tend to give ourselves credit when things go well, but when things go badly, we tend to blame other people. And in fact, you see it all the time. Every day, you just don't notice it. Notice how people talk about their favorite sports team. When their favorite sports team wins, they say, hey, we won. But when their team lost, they say, oh, they lost. Right? And they don't even know that they're doing it. But a lot of people do that. So self-attribution bias is something you got to watch out for when it comes to investing, because people will run around and brag all day about the times where they made money and things went well, but they will never tell you about the times when they got their butts kicked. So I'm not going to teach you about that kind of investing. If you want to do it on your own, that's up to you. But I teach the standard methods that allow people where I can teach 100 of you the same strategy and 100 of you will make money. I will be willing to bet, I got to double check, but I'm willing to bet that 99% of my Black Stock Market Program students who've been investing for, say, more than 6 months have made money. And I'm not kidding. If they did what I told them to do, they've all made money. Why do I know that? Well, because the market's doing really well. It's not because I taught them some magic formula. It's that the market has gone up, which means that if they're diversified and invested in the right way, then their portfolios are probably gone up. So one of the things Warren Buffett always said that I really like, Warren Buffett, he's a guy that's kind of made of money. He's got more money than almost anybody. He says that if you don't plan on holding a stock for at least 10 years, then you shouldn't think about holding it for 10 minutes. So investing should be long-term, generational wealth. If you ask me, well, what's a good time to sell a stock? I'm going to say, how about never? Because there are families that have held stock in companies for generations. So, it doesn't mean you never sell, never, but it does mean that never is okay too. It's okay to just have an asset that you pass to your children. You're not supposed to spend everything until you die. They say you can't take it with you, but you're going to leave it behind. And that's what you should be thinking about. What you leave behind will affect your children and your grandchildren. So we want to change the culture within our lives and families and communities. That's the goal. It's about, sort of having a culture that's built around wealth building. That's what's going to be the key. When something's a part of your culture, you don't think about it. You just do it because it's a part of who you are. Just like going to grandma's house and eating, fried chicken on Sunday, or going to church every Sunday, or whatever it is you do on birthdays and barbecues and all of that. It's part of your culture. Going to work every day, unfortunately, can be part of our culture too. So when something's part of your culture, you're not really thinking about it anymore. So before you begin to invest heavily, I want to encourage you to do these things. First, have a budget. Everybody should have a budget so you know where your money's going. Number two, make sure you have adequate life insurance. Nobody is allowed to ever come into my class or my webinar if you ain't got life insurance, especially if you got kids. If you have kids and you don't have life insurance, then I am calling you out right now, and I'm telling you that you are being a bad parent right now. And I need you to go ahead and get you some life insurance, because it doesn't cost a whole lot of money. Please, please, please don't have the kids, going and begging the church to pay, to pay for your burial. You should be paying for that for yourself. Let's see. Let's see here. Next, make sure that it's the emergency fund. You want to create an emergency fund that goes out with 4 to 6 months worth of living expenses, including like emergency travel, high deductibles and copays for hospital visits. In case you don't know this about the American medical system, America actually has the highest healthcare cost in the world. And you would think that if we're spending the most, we would have the best medical system. We're actually ranked, I think, about 35th in the world, right behind Costa Rica. And so I went, and let me tell you this. I'm gonna tell you a little funny story. I went to the doctor in London, and when I went to the doctor, I didn't even have my passport, because if y'all remember, I told you guys about the issue I had with immigration, where apparently they just decided that there might be a reason I shouldn't be in the country, which kind of baffled me. And so I didn't have my passport. They'd held my passport. I went in there without a passport, and I told them I didn't even live in the country. The doctor saw me. They took all my information. The doctor saw me, diagnosed me, everything else, and they sent me home. And I said, well, where do I go pay the bill? They said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, I have to pay for this, right? And they said, no, you just go home. And that blew my mind. So that kind of, lets you know that the way we do things here in America in terms of healthcare, it's kind of screwed up. We won't even go into the fact that they want to get you hooked on drugs. Even Donald Trump knows that. That's why he's actually got an initiative to stop the whole opioid crisis. Next, get rid of high interest credit card debt first. High interest credit card debt is one of the great financial leaks that people have. Credit card companies charge you a lot of extra money. So what you want to do is you want to pay down that interest or pay down that balance because that is like investing with a guaranteed high return. Your savings account probably pays you less than 1% or something crazy like that. The stock market might give you 10%. It might give you 20%. It might give you negative 5%. But your credit card company is definitely taking that 12, 13%. So if you pay off the credit card debt, then you're guaranteeing yourself the financial benefits of investing. It's a penny saved is a penny earned kind of thing. So instead of making 12 or 13%, you're saving 12 or 13%, which is the same as making 12 or 13%. So let's keep going. So before you start investing, you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? So think about your goals. Figure out what it is about your financial goals that excites you every day. Money by itself isn't that interesting. Money becomes interesting when you tie it to something that you care about, when you tie it to something that you believe in, when you tie it to something that matters to you. So you need to figure out, what matters to you. Why are you here? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to save the world? Then great. Let's do it together, because I need help, because I can't do it by myself. I'm not even going to try to do it by myself. Are you trying to just, make your mama proud? Okay, great. I want to make my mama proud too. That was one of the biggest things I wanted to do. When I got my first little job, when I was 17, I was selling these knives for this company called Vector Marketing Corporation. They were Cutco knives. Some of y'all know about Cutco, because Cutco knives are actually really good knives. They just cost a whole lot of money. And I remember getting that job, and I didn't know they were playing me. I didn't know they were making me part of their slavery sales force. But I got this job selling these Cutco knives, and I kid you not, I was so proud of myself. I was so excited, because it was my first sort of real gig. And I called my mom, and I remember I called her on a payphone. That's how long ago it was. We didn't even have cell phones. I called my mother up, and I said, Mama, I want to be, every family has that one person who really lifts the family up to a different level, who really helps the family, who becomes like a legend in the family. I said, Mama, I want to be that person. I want to be the person who makes our family legendary, who takes our family to the next level. And, and that was sort of my motivation in it all. So what I would say is that you might have your own motivation. It might be something more basic. Like, I just want to pay for college. I want to, save for retirement. I want to buy a house. I want to start a business. I want to just be free. Whatever it is, don't be ashamed of it, but figure out what it is. And I want you to think about that, because if you associate your hard work with something that you enjoy or something that makes you feel good, then it doesn't feel like work anymore. It feels like something fun. Like, I haven't really worked. I haven't had a job in 20 something years. I haven't worked since I was at Arby's when I was 22 years old trying to get through school. That's the last time I had a real job. So let's keep going. So 3 things you need from your emergency fund is you need little to no risk. You need liquidity. You need easy accessibility. Liquidity means that you can easily convert something into cash if you need it. So some of treasury bills, stuff like that are pretty liquid. You want to be able to access the money quickly in case of emergency, things like that. So that's just a little note on that. Next, here are the pros of being an investor versus saving. First of all, you get the power of compound interest. I cannot understate how important compound interest is. I've analyzed wealth equations in detail, right? I've broken down the mathematics behind them, the factors that make wealth grow, stuff like that, and looked at it really on a microscopic level, like a doctor looking through a microscope at a cancer or at a bacteria. And what I have found is that the number one factor in these equations is actually time. If you give yourself enough time, then you can actually have as much money as you want. You just have to have enough time. I could get you $1 billion. You just got to give me enough time to make it happen. Also, investors get to earn passive income. That's great because then your money works for you. And there's an old saying that says money makes a wonderful slave, but it makes a terrible master. Money makes a wonderful slave, but it makes a terrible master. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that if you are slaving for money, and if if cash rules everything around you, and then you're not going to be happy, because money is kind of a bastard sometimes. Capitalism is a beast. Capitalism makes you believe that there's no relationship more important than money, that your health isn't more important than money, your happiness isn't more important than money, people don't matter more than money, and that's not fun. But it's better when you make money your slave. When you control money, then you can say to your money, look, people do matter to me. Health does matter to me. Happiness does matter to me. So I want to use my money to help me pursue those things, as opposed to me giving up those things so I can pursue more money. Now, I want you to process that for a minute. Ask yourself, are you giving up the things that matter in order to pursue more money? Or are you in a position to use money to allow you to access more of the things that matter? That's really important. So let's keep going. Economic power for yourself, your family, your community. Ain't nothing better in this world as a Black person, male or female, than to feel like you're a boss of your own destiny. I'm going to tell you what, it really relaxes you when it comes to all the things that make us so sensitive. We're very sensitive about it. We're prickly and sensitive about every little thing that the oppressor does. Well, Massa did this, so I'm mad. They said that, and I'm mad. He did this, and I'm mad. They hung a noose in my office, so I'm mad. Once you kind of have control over your environment, those things don't bother you anymore, because you realize that in a competitive environment, nobody ever really likes anybody. Everybody kind of hates everyone else. Everybody's competing with everybody else. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what somebody thinks about you, as long as they ain't paying your bills. If they're not paying your bills, then who cares what they think? And that's kind of, the philosophy I adopted. I didn't even know this was going to happen. When I started making money, I thought making money would just be fun and I'd have a bunch of money to do a bunch of stuff with. But then I saw these other side effects that I wasn't even aware of. So let's keep going. So the cons of being an investor are, number one, it's not a steady paycheck. So it's a different kind of world, but there's ways to stabilize your income. It's what they call income smoothing. That's what we used to call it back in grad school, is income smoothing. And basically income smoothing is where you just make sure you save when times are good, so that you'll have some money when times get dry. And people have known this for, thousands of years. They knew this for thousands of years. They just didn't do it with money. They did it with with wood and horse meat and and vegetables, right? They knew that winter was coming, and they knew that while the getting was good, you go out and you do your hunting, you do your fishing and everything else, and you freeze all of that so that you can have stuff in the winter. That's why they use the term store nuts for the winter. So basically, you can get a steady income flow if you set your situation up in a way where your money's smoothed out. Also, you might actually lose money. When you invest, you are taking a chance, and sometimes investors don't make as much money as they hope to make. It also requires a lot of planning, work, and creativity, which is different from a job. Some people I've found over time really enjoy being told what to do. They really don't like to think more than somebody said he spoke more truth in 5 minutes than I heard in my whole college career. Oh, I love hearing stuff like that, because I that's what the goal. The goal is to really sort of tell you the truth. I don't really think universities care enough about you to really tell you the whole truth. I don't think they have. I think they're too stuck on political correctness to really tell Black people the truth about being Black. That's just my honest to God opinion. I don't think white universities do it because they don't really care. They just kind of want you there to play basketball or whatever. But Black, even HBCUs, I think the challenge with HBCUs is I've seen a lot of HBCUs that are so conservative that they get in their own way. They're trying to emulate a system that is run by somebody else, as opposed to creating something that's fresh and new and different. And it ends up sort of becoming, instead of being sort of a liberated Black person, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of my HBCU friends become sort of cheap substitutes for a white guy. They sort of become everything somebody else already is, but they're like the Black version of that. And I think that that's not really expressing the power of Blackness. The power of Blackness is that you're so unique and you're so damn amazing that when you really go off on your own and you start becoming what you're meant to be, everybody follows you. I talked to the head of a major shoe manufacturer. You can probably guess which one. And these are the most popular shoes in the community. And one of the things he said that really struck my attention was he said, we know that whatever that black kid in the hood is doing, whatever he's into, everybody follows him. And I said, that's really profound, and it's so, so true. So I encourage you to be yourself. I didn't really start succeeding in life until I learned to love who I was, warts and all, meaning I loved my strengths and I loved my weaknesses and I just loved me. And so I might go out here and say something crazy or say something stupid or do something that's wrong. But at the end of the day, because I love myself, it allows me to keep going, because I'm betting on Team Boyce, and I'm okay with that. Even though Boyce is half crazy half the time, he does things that can be downright embarrassing. He's still a good guy. He works his butt off. He cares about his community, and I believe in him. And I encourage you to say the same thing about yourself. Believe in yourself. That's what it means to be woke. To me, wokeness is it means being economically woke, politically and socially woke. Of course, it means being woke about your health. It also means being woke about your self-love and understanding your true power. So wokeness has about 20 dimensions to it. It's not just sort of a catchphrase. But let's keep going. All right. So now one of the other challenges about investing is that you could end up, if you're not careful, becoming what I call a wealthy broke person. A wealthy broke person is a person that is maybe a paper millionaire, but they don't actually have all that paper in the bank. Most of the billionaires, for example, the hip hop billionaires and stuff like that, Michael Jordan's a billionaire, Diddy's a billionaire, stuff like that. They don't actually have $1 billion in the bank. It doesn't mean they don't have a lot of money though, but they don't usually have $1 billion in the bank. And so ultimately what you find when you start investing is that there's a difference between having a lot of money on paper and having a lot of money that's actually liquid. So paycheck millionaires, though, are people that I know who have a lot of cash flow, and they think that when you have that much cash flow that you can go out and spend like crazy. That's why you see a lot of athletes go broke, because they don't understand that when you're making $5-10 million a year, you are a walking corporation. You are a walking corporation. You don't have cash in your pocket. You have capital. Capital can transform lives. You could go adopt an entire neighborhood and elevate the economic situation of that whole community if you understood how to apply that capital. But because no one teaches them this, they think, oh, well, because I make $5 million a year, I can go spend $3.5 or $4.5 million a year at, doing whatever, and it's going to be okay. It's not okay. It's a very bad thing. So most Americans don't participate in the stock market. See in this graph, the stock market participation hit an all-time high in 2007. And then after the crash, you started seeing a big dip. And the market still hasn't recovered in terms of participation. More people are jumping back in, but really a lot of people left and never came back because they were traumatized by the losses. And what's sad is that most of these people don't understand that a ton of money was made during the market recovery. So you want to listen to people like Warren Buffett. Now, here's one thing Warren Buffett says. He says, I'll tell you how to be rich, close the doors. He said, basically, very basic statement. I love Buffett for that reason. He keeps it real simple. He says, be fearful when others are greedy, greedy when others are fearful. So when people are running toward an investment and the price is sky high, maybe some people might say Bitcoin could be in that category. I don't know, right? Even I'm sort of looking at Bitcoin and wondering how this is going to play out. He's a believer that, you should run the other way. You should go invest in the things that people aren't talking about. And then he says when everybody's fearful, when everybody's getting out of something, everybody's running away from an investment, chances are they engage in what is called basic simple overreaction. We studied overreaction a lot during my doctoral program, and they overreact. So they'll undervalue something like more than they really should. So some people just do what they invest in what they call value investing or reversals, where they literally look for stuff that is out of style, out of whack, and they'll go buy all the stuff that looks like the value has dropped because it's not popular, and they'll sell. They don't want to invest in the stuff that everybody wants. But that's just one philosophy. It's not the only philosophy, but it's just one. So you can see here in this chart that the market's kind of been on a tear during the presidencies of Obama and Trump. And what's crazy is that this chart doesn't even capture the entirety of what's happened since that time. Here it's about 18,000. Actually, now the market's at 23,000. 23,000. Now I want you to look at this real quick, right? That's 5,000 higher. The Dow, this is the Dow. The Dow is 5,000 higher than it was at the end of 2016. 5,000. Now look at how long it took to do the previous 5,000. You go back 18 to 13. 13 is about right here. So that's 3 years worth of growth in less than a year. But then you go back before that. Go back from 13 to 8. You're talking about going from the middle of 2013 back to 2008, 2009. So literally what's kind of crazy right now with the market is that it's growing at really an exponential rate. And that's why you're seeing the wealth gap grow, is because you've got people that literally are basic investors. I'm talking about people who just put in the money from their 401k, regular working class people who are downright giddy because there's so much money, because money's just being made hand over fist right now in the stock market. So ultimately, those who don't participate, those who are afraid of the market, are really being left behind right now. And I don't know when that's going to change. So the first concept I want to jump into real quick is an asset class. An asset class is basically a group of assets that have similar characteristics. Most investing is not discussed in terms of individual stocks, individual investments. That's why when you ask me, well, Doc, what's a good stock to invest in? I tell you, I don't know. I don't do that. If you ask me, well, what stocks are you invested in, Doc? I say, I don't know. I don't remember. I'm invested in thousands of stocks because I think of stocks in groups. You can think about like animals. You know, if you think about animals in Africa, yeah, every zebra is different from every other zebra, but a herd of zebras looks very different from a herd of giraffes, right? So rather than focusing on individual zebras, which would be individual stocks, focus on herds, right? So you got, in the investing universe, you've got herds of assets, just like in the jungle. Imagine if you have herds of zebras, herds of giraffes, herds of elephants, you got a herd of geese, whatever. That's similar to how you look at stocks. When we would do research in my PhD program on stocks, we never talked about, if you came in there and said, I did research on one stock and I've written this research paper and I want you guys to look at it, they wouldn't even look at it because they'd be like, that's stupid. Why would you analyze one stock? You're supposed to analyze groups and collections of stocks, asset classes. So everything we did was based on class. So the same way there are herds of giraffes and zebras and elephants, there are also herds of stocks, herds of bonds, herds of real estate, herds of small cap stocks, large cap stocks, blue chip stocks, foreign company stocks, tech stocks, fashion stocks, all different kinds of stocks. So you want to think about investing in terms of herds as opposed to individual assets. Individual assets will drive you crazy. So ultimately, these are some examples of asset classes, broad classes, stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities, but they can even be broken down into smaller groups. There are different kinds of stocks, just like with zebras. If you have zebras, elephants, giraffes, and antelopes, there's different kinds of zebras. There's probably 100 different types of zebras out there that we don't even know about. I think there's a 1,000 different kinds of beetles or something crazy like that. So stocks can be broken into different classes, even on a microscopic level. So the other concept I want you to understand is what I call financial fertility. Financial fertility is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's exactly the same as regular fertility. It's the method of kind of growing your money over time, letting your money grow on top of more money, and your money eventually working for you. The money that you give birth to, your dollar bills give birth to baby dollar bills, and those baby dollar bills, they come out of the womb and they start working. So ultimately, your money can either live and grow, or it can die a fast death or a slow death. Now, what's a fast death for your money? A fast death for your money is when you spend it. When you spend it, you're guaranteed a negative 100% return on investment, or maybe negative 95%, because you might get a pair of red bottoms out of it or something like that. Or maybe you might get, a new hairdo that's going to last you about 2 weeks. So when you spend money, your return on investment is the worst it can ever be with almost any. I don't know of a single stock portfolio that you could have bought in the last 50 years that would have given you a rate of return lower than the rate of return you get when you go to the mall and spend your money. So if you're ever looking for the absolute worst investment you could ever make with your money, I want you to go to the mall and I want you to drop $1,000 at the mall. Then that way you're guaranteeing yourself the absolute worst investment you can find. A slow death is when you don't necessarily give your money away, but you don't let your money grow. You put your money in a mattress, under the bed, put it somewhere where it's not going to grow over time. That's the kind of stuff my grandma used to do. I love my grandma. She taught me about compound interest, but my grandma was scared of the stock market. I have to, tell her business a little bit. Hope she won't get mad at me from the grave. Love you, grandma, if you're watching. I'm sure she's watching the webinar in heaven. They probably got good Wi-Fi in heaven, I'm sure. But grandma used to, she was so afraid of stocks and the stock market that she would put her money in places where the money wasn't going to go anywhere. So ultimately, That's a slow death for your money. An investor is pretty much someone who always thinks how to use about ways to use what he's got. When you have capital, you should always be thinking, what can I do with this money that will help me make money on a regular basis? So you got to ask yourself, is your money growing or is it dying and disappearing? So what are some basic rules of investing? Well, some basic rules are: number one, you have to diversify. No matter what you invest in, no matter how great it is, you diversify, diversify, diversify. Never think of any one investment as your holy grail. This is the one thing that's going to make it all work. Because if you do, you're going to end up looking crazy and stupid when you lose everything. Y'all have heard me talk a lot about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. We just even added a cryptocurrency faculty member into the business, in the Black Business School, because we're serious about knowing about cryptocurrency. I've explored crypto even down to saying, well, what would it take for us to create a coin? You know, all these things, right? But never in a million years will you ever hear me say that I put the majority of my money into Bitcoin. That ain't happening. People who don't diversify, who don't spread their money out, who don't put their eggs in multiple baskets, they end up opening themselves up to severe financial calamity. If you want to think of an example, look at Enron. People who work for Enron had the majority of their retirement in one company, and when the company went bankrupt, they lost everything. So you don't want to do that. You always want to diversify. Be consistent as well. Being consistent, dollar cost averaging, all that means is being consistent. Just picking an amount of money that you want to invest on a regular basis, have it automatically deducted from your bank account, and have it invest on autopilot. That's how you make your money grow. Even if the market is going up and down, when the market goes down, I don't really notice it that much, except for when I'm teaching it to the students, but I don't really notice it because my money still goes up because I'm consistently investing, because the money's automatically deposited into my investment account every week or every 2 weeks. Also think long-term, never think short-term. Remember what Buffett said, long-term. In fact, Buffett has another great quote where he says that wealth building in America is pretty much a transfer from long-term thinkers to short-term thinkers. If all you can do is think about the short term, then you're not going to be a good wealth builder, because wealth builders are people who control the present because they plan for the present back in the past. In fact, there's another saying out of that I love, and I don't know who said it, but I loved it. They said, rich people plan for 4 generations, poor people plan for Saturday night. So ask yourself, are you spending more time planning for Saturday night, or the barbecue Saturday afternoon, or church on Sunday, or what you're going to do at grandma's house Sunday after church? Or are you spending the bulk of your time thinking, well, what are we going to be doing 50, 100 years from now as a family? You need to think about both at the very least. Next tip I'll give you is invest like a monkey. And what does that mean? Investing like a monkey is like this. Some of you heard this story, but I just love hearing it because I think it's a great story to exemplify how easy it is to invest. In 1971, a guy named Burton Malkiel wrote a book called A Random Walk Down Wall Street. In this book, what he did was he said he wanted to prove a theory called the efficient markets hypothesis. And in this theory, what he did is he got a bunch of monkeys in a room, and the monkeys were blindfolded, and he taught the monkeys how to pick stocks by throwing darts at a wall. So the monkeys were throwing these darts at a wall, and what he did was they bought all the stocks that the monkeys picked. And then what they did was they allowed they compared the money the monkeys made to what the leading experts on Wall Street made. So they took the leading, smartest experts on Wall Street and they compared them to the monkeys. And what they found was that the monkeys actually made more money than the experts at least 50% of the time. So a lot of people were stunned by this. I think Malkiel might have won a Nobel Prize for this. At the very least, he was nominated. I got to double check on that. But the thing was that what he was showing is that as long as you diversify and as long as you hold what you invest in, then you're going to be fine when it comes to investing. You don't need to be a Wall Street expert. The reason that there are people who sell you expertise in exchange for them advising you on your investments a lot of times is because you believe that because the market looks the way it looks, that it must be difficult. There must be some magic formula, when really there is no magic formula in place. There are some complications, but that's not one of them. So here's some easy ways to get started investing. Just get an app. Start with Acorn, Stash, or Robinhood. Those are 3 good ones that we vetted them out in class. We like them. That'll get you started. They have different characteristics. Acorns let you invest spare change on your credit card. Stash allows you to pick which industry you like. So all these apps work in terms of portfolios for the most part, or encourage you to have broad portfolios as opposed to individual stocks. So to get started, you want to get one of those 3 apps, maybe download all 3. I invest in all 3 on a regular basis, and pick which one you like. Robinhood lets you pick individual stocks. Stash lets you pick portfolios. Acorns lets you pick just based on your risk profile, how much risk you want, things like that. Risk is a good thing, especially if you're a young investor. So you actually like risk. Risk is a good thing. And so the point is, if I were to sort of compare the 3, I would say that, Robinhood is for people that want a little more complexity. They want to pick their own stocks. Stash is for people that want less complexity. They just want to go by portfolio. And Acorns is for people that want to make it really, really simple. All right. So the $5 a day investment plan is this. This is sort of what I would call almost financial magic that you can show, that shows you the power of compound interest. So what I did was I did some simple math, because I had this problem. I had this problem with what I call the Negro naysayers, all the people that said, well, Dr. Boyce, black people can't invest, black people ain't got no money, black people can't build wealth, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, let me sit down and see what kind of mathematical acrobatics I can do that will help the Negro naysayers stop trying to convince me that black people have no power, no ability, and no capability to change the future. Because I was deeply depressed by the alternative. I was deeply depressed by this idea that the only way that we can get ahead is we got to wait for a government that is destroying the country to somehow magically become woke and decide that they want to come and save 40 million black people. I just don't see that day happening. So I wasn't going to wait for it. So I came up with this to show people how simple it is, how straightforward the process can be. So the $5 a day plan is this. And really it should be the $20 a day plan, because some of y'all can actually do this, but $5 a day is an amount literally almost everyone can afford. Basically this, I did the math and I said, okay, what if somebody had did $5 a day back in, I see my cousin Andrea Watkins is in here. I love my cousin. Love you, cuz. I'm so glad you're here. I just want to stop. I had to stop and say that because I love my family so much, and I just thank them so much for the support that they give. And all of you are also my family. You're my economic family as well, and God bless you for being here as well. And so anyway, so here's what I figured out. I said, okay, if somebody had started doing this, say in 1975, 1980, let's say you had a grandparent or a parent who in 1980 said, okay, we're poor, we don't have much, but let's make sure that in 2015, 2016, 2017, our children are in a better position than we are. Well, what they could have done is, let's say they as a family came together and invested $5 a day. Let's say $5 a day was too much for an individual. Let's say the whole family came with $5 a day. The amount of money nowadays, you can't even buy a McDonald's value meal for $5. But anyway, in 10 years, they would have had about $29,000 if they bought, say, into a diversified portfolio, invested just like the monkeys. I'm not talking about anything fancy, just literally randomly pick stocks. In 10 years, they'd have $29,000. In 20 years, they'd have about $102,000. In 30 years, they'd have $281,000. In 40 years, they'd have $750,000. Now, what's so beautiful about that is that in that first 10 years, that $29,000, out of that $29,000, only $18,000 is what you actually put in. The other $11,000 has come from compound interest, financial fertility. It's come from the fact that your money is working for you. It comes from the fact that your money has given birth to other baby dollar bills, and now you're in the second generation of wealth. Now, the beauty of financial fertility, though, is that the longer you let it grow, the faster it grows, increasing at an increasing rate. What does that mean? It means that basically it's like a car that is going faster, that's already going 70 miles an hour, but the longer you drive, the faster the car goes. So instead of going 70 miles an hour for the first hour, it goes 75 miles an hour, then 80, then 85, then 90, then 95, then 100. So not only are you ahead because you were already driving fast, but now you're way ahead, and the distance between you and everyone else is growing because you're not just way out there, you're also going faster, you're accelerating. So money accelerates. It accelerates. That's why you have to give it the power of time. So anyway, in 20 years, here's the beauty of it. So in 10 years, 18,000 is what you put in, 11,000 is what you get in compound interest, giving you 29,000. Well, in 20 years, 36,000 is what you put in, but you get 102,000, which means that $64,000 is money that literally came out of the sky. That's money that literally came from your money working for you. Your dollar bills went out and hustled and brought you back $64,000 that you didn't even earn through work. That's what they call that whole passive income term everybody likes to use. That is the epitome of passive income. When your dollar bills are out slaving for you, doing the Kunta Kinte dance for you, and earning money for you. But that's not where it ends. Let's say you really are a long-term thinker. Remember, 1980 was what, 37 years ago. So in 30 years, by the year 2010, you're up to 281,000, of which about 54,000 is what you put in. The other, what is it, $127,000 or something like that? I think I did the math right. The other, wait, no, sorry, I did that wrong, didn't I? 227,000. Yeah, the other $227,000 literally came from the fact that you've embraced the power of compound interest. So when people say it takes money to make money, it doesn't take money to make money, but having money certainly makes it much easier to make money if you know what to do with that money. It's like if I'm a farmer and I have a bunch of seeds, then yeah, it's easier. Having seeds helps you grow food, but if you don't know how to plant a seed, then you're gonna still starve to death because you're gonna throw away all your potential. And that's what we do with our money. We have all the seeds and we don't know how to plant because we don't spend any time learning how to farm. If you're really talking about making money moves, stop listening to Cardi B and all these rappers talking about making money moves. They don't know anything about money moves. All they know how to do is make a song. You want to learn making money moves by understanding financial literacy, because then your money will be moving for you. So then let's go out 40 years. 40 years isn't that far into the future. 2020, we're in 2017. 2020 is a little more than 2 years from now. In 2020, that family that was broke as hell in 1980 now has $750,000 in assets that they can pass down to their children. Let's go full circle with the equation. The beauty of that 750 is that you only put in $72,000 by doing $5 a day. You only put in $72,000, but you're walking away with $750,000. Now nobody can make fun of you anymore. Now you're not the struggling broke family anymore. You're the family everybody wants to be. You are the Huxtables now, except you're in a better position than the Huxtables, because if the Huxtables represent those in the Black community who have obtained education, the doctor and the lawyer, and obtained the good jobs, I'm gonna tell you what, most people in that category don't build any wealth because but I'll tell you what they typically build. They typically build about $250,000 on student loan debt. So they're starting off in the red. They build up a lifestyle that is very expensive to maintain, because since you went to law school, well, of course you have to drive a Bentley or a Benz or whatever. Of course you have to live in a certain neighborhood. They built up a bunch of worthless friends who are borrowing money from them. And because they want to maintain a front, they're loaning money to everybody, solving everybody else's financial problems, and their lives are in chaos. So ultimately, you're in a better position than the Huxtables, because you're not going to have all the debt. You're going to have actually the wealth, and you're actually going to be ahead. You're going to have the wealth, and you're going to have the financial literacy and economic intelligence necessary to keep building on what you have. And if you're really smart, you'll have a business by then. So at that point, $750,000 may not even be a lot of money. So what else costs $5? This is bringing it back to earth to let everybody know that they can participate in the $5 a day wealth building plan. You can buy a Big Mac value meal for about $5. You might need a little more money than that, because I don't know if that'll buy you the Big Mac, the drink, and the fries. You can buy a large latte at Starbucks, but that's probably more than $5. I know Starbucks will break you. If you ever go to Starbucks, just bring your wallet. The average cost to the movies for a family of four, $60. I personally think taking a family of four to the movies will cost you more than $60, but that's the average across the country. The average note on a new car is $479. They're selling new cars to Black people every day on television networks because they know Black people, unfortunately, have been trained to want to look good more than we want to actually be good. We train ourselves to look fly, but we're not training ourselves to actually own assets. And that's something that we got to change right now. So what are some takeaways? Number one, start a long-term wealth building plan for your family. Do at least $5 a day. I encourage you to aim higher, because the $5 a day was set to set the bar low. But literally, if you take all those numbers I just gave you over the last 40 years, those numbers multiply. So if you did $10 a day, well, that 29,000 is now 58,000. That 102,000 is now 204,000. That 281 is now 562. That 750,000 is now 1.5 million. That's how you build a family empire. That's how you build a family bank. If you have economic intelligence, assets, and some discipline, then you can build a family economic empire unlike anything that your family has ever seen. Something that will have your great grandchildren singing songs about you, putting pictures of you up on the wall, saying that's when it all started. It started when grandma sat and listened to Dr. Boyce Watkins class, and she decided that we as a family were going to change our culture. And that's what your grandchildren will be saying about you. And I know that this works. I have 100% faith in this. I would bet my life on this. So anyway, so if you want to do weekly deposits, that's fine, or monthly deposits, you can do that. Don't send the money to me. I'm not saying I want you to participate in my $5 a day plan. I'm talking about I want you to have your plan in your account, in your portfolio. Just send me an email or something and tell me what the results are. Also, don't worry about picking the right stock at the right time. Make sure you're in it for the long haul. Also, make sure you diversify. So here's the thing. Procrastination kills. The goal in all of this, the most important thing to do is to just start. Whatever it is, you want to just start, because I started a lot of stuff. I started my YouTube channel in 2009. I wish I'd started it sooner, because I thought about it and I hesitated, and I regret that. And I'm not kidding with you guys. I'm being completely transparent on this. I regret deeply that I didn't follow through on what I did in 2007. I started 5 YouTube channels in 2007, but I didn't believe YouTube would actually do much for me. So I stopped my YouTube channels and I let them go, and I've regretted it ever since. So we have 250,000 subscribers, but I could have had 1.2 million by now if I had been consistent. So don't make the same mistakes that I did. You got to start now. You got to make your move. So the question is, how are you going to put this to mind, or this into action right now? We have part 2 of the Emancipation Equation tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. But the question I want you to ask is how are you going to start right now? Start right now. Don't wait till next Tuesday. Don't wait till the time is right. Start today, man. I mean, seriously, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for your old life to magically shift? If you don't like the life you're in, just create a new one. I do believe that that's doable. I've done that a million times. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some questions, but before I do that, I want to shift it over to my friend Julian Gordon. And in fact, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so Julian can come in. Julian, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm fired up, man. You just dropped game on us all. Can you hear me?
Doing my best. Yeah, man, I can hear you very well, and I just stopped sharing my screen. But are you able to still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, you keep going, because my computer's acting crazy. Perfect. And I'll let you kind of do your thing.
Let me know. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
I can't see your screen. And I may actually have to reboot and come back in.
Yeah, I can see your screen, Julian. And cool. The audience can too.
All right, great. So Dr. Watkins is going to take questions in a second. First and foremost, Dr. Watkins, I just want to say thank you for dropping so much game. As you said multiple times, I went to business school at Stanford, and there's no class at Stanford that I know of that is on actually investing in the stock market, right? At Stanford, at business school, you learn how to be a higher paid manager, but it doesn't necessarily teach you how to be free. And so just thank you for that teaching. It was the basics, it was the fundamentals, but it was even helpful to me as someone who is starting to increase that particular revenue stream as well. So thank you for all that. Just in the chat, can we all give Dr. Watkins some love? Some love. Cool. All right. So earlier on, Dr. Watkins talked about how some of you will actually get access to the entire Black Business School curriculum. And I'm going to talk to you exactly about how to do that. Now, remember, this is part 1 of a 3-part series, as Dr. Watkins called it, the Black Wealth Weekend, and we're teaching the Emancipation Equation. So tomorrow we have Andre Hatchett teaching on the real estate reality, and then on Sunday, I'll be teaching on the business building blocks, how to start off as an entrepreneur. So it's about to go down. This was just the beginning of a longer journey ahead. So Dr. Watkins asked for your permission to share this opportunity with you earlier on. Can we get the green light? Did we rock? Did he knock it out the park or what? I got the green light. Okay, I'm seeing comments. I see people raise their hands. Beautiful. Okay, good. I think we are good to go. Yes. Yes. Okay, we're good to go. All right. So of course, as we think about our journey to freedom, as we are working our way to creating our own financial Juneteenth, we want to compress time for you. Now, when people think about success, they think about it in terms of this straight path, that it's this linear path, but we all know that that's not the true reality. And Dr. Watkins has oftentimes referenced Jay-Z and hip hop, and he said, you know, the Jay-Z quote, "Hov did that, so hopefully you wouldn't have to go through that." Well, guess what? Dr. Watkins did that so that hopefully none of us have to go through that. He's the one who went through that tough PhD finance program. He's the one who's put in 20 years plus into studying and practicing all of this, and then not just thinking about it theoretically, but actually taking action and bringing that information back to the community. And so we want to compress time for you, and that's what we believe that this opportunity that we're going to share with you is all about. So here's the deal. We've been on this webinar going hard for a minute. Obviously, you stayed here on this webinar this long because you're serious about your financial freedom. There's people who signed up who aren't here. There's people who signed up who started and like, oh, I'm going to go bounce. I'm going to go put on my red bottoms. And then there's you. There are you who are still here. And that says a lot about who you are. I know that you're tired of the stress of working for others and always worrying about money. And you know that everything would change if you finally knew how to make money work for you, right? How to make money your slave and not your master. And then you know that you were just way too smart and too hardworking not to be able to be who you actually are and do what you love and live abundantly doing that. You know, especially with people, with Black people, what we tend to do is we say, oh, I'm going to sacrifice so that my kids can have theirs, right? And then our kids grow up and they say, oh, I'm going to sacrifice, and then their kids can have theirs. And then those kids say, oh, I'm going to sacrifice my dream and living out the life that I want to live so that my kids can. And then guess what? Nobody ends up living out their dream, right? Your parents and generations prior to you have sacrificed so that you could actually have the life that you truly desire, and not just have a life that you truly desire that's selfish, but one that's abundant, that actually starts to lead to generational wealth. And that's what we're here to do. So the emancipation equation is stocks, it's real estate, and it's business and entrepreneurship. And we covered part one of that today. But again, Dr. Watkins, in a short amount of time, was only able to cover the tip of the iceberg when it comes to stock market investing, right? He talked about there probably being hundreds of types of zebras, right? We were only able to scratch the surface, right? And the same thing with real estate. You may know real estate from a high level because you watch HGTV or whatnot. Well, do you know that when you get the keys, you are not a home owner, you are actually a home buyer, right? You don't own the home until the mortgage is paid off. So there's some myths and misconceptions that we have about real estate. And then when it comes to business, there's the surface, and then there is the deeper side of business that we want to share with you and teach you so that you have the information and you can actually apply that. So as Dr. Watkins said earlier on, the Black Business School, which he has been building, and now we have faculty, we have departments, we have deans, and then we have 22 premium programs, and we're continuing to add new programs every single month. Right now, the Black Business School, if you go to the website, would be $3.99 a month. And we are about to do something that most people would say is absolutely ridiculous. Why would you do that? And I want to walk you through that process of how we are making the Black Business School 10 times better than it was literally 48 hours ago. So the Black Business School has 22 premium courses, all about you achieving your financial Juneteenth. These are just screenshots of the Black Money series, Black Money 101, the introduction to the power of money, how to invest in the stock market, how to start a strong Black business. This is just the beginning, but we are also trying to teach the babies, right? And so we have all kinds of programs in the Black Business School for kids. We are now launching a e-commerce course for kids that's coming out. And so we are trying to teach every level of the family. We really believe in empowering the family. And as you get information, you should be passing that down to the younger generation as well. So you're probably thinking after seeing this, oh, I should just go get an MBA, right? Because that's business. They'll teach me business. They'll teach me how to make money. That's where the money is at. And like I said, I've been to business school. I went to one of the best business schools in the entire world. And I'll tell you that after Stanford Business School, I should have went to the Black Business School if I had known that it existed at that moment in time. There are things that traditional business school curriculum will not teach you. They are teaching you to be a better manager. It is a master's in business administration or business management. It is not a master's in freedom. I just want you to be clear about that. And so if you're thinking about getting an MBA, right, because you want that business knowledge, then just look at the numbers. If you were to go to Harvard, Harvard is about $63,000 now if you were to go to Harvard, right? If you got into Harvard, it'd be $63,000. So let's just look at the cost of an MBA. Your tuition for year one will be $63,000. Your room and board for year one would probably be, let's say, $3,000 a month, $36,000. That same thing goes for year two if they don't increase the tuition on you. Then you have student loans at 5% interest rate for 10 years. So that's an additional $48,000. And then let's not forget your foregone wages for the 2 years that you were actually in business school. And let's say you went to business school and you were making $60,000 at the time. Now you are at $366,000 for an MBA. $366,000. That's a ridiculous investment to make. And you do not have to make that. And so it's not that you need to go get an MBA. The next logical step is for you to invest in financial and business education to get more of it and get the right financial education so that you can apply it for your life, right? We have Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey out there and Robert Kiyosaki, and they're great. And yes, they've taught some universal principles about finance, but nobody has been able to do it better than Dr. Watkins when it comes to actual teaching finance and business entrepreneurship in terms of Black people. So you do not need to go out there and invest $366,000 to get an MBA, because an MBA, honestly, I know for a fact will not teach you everything that is in the Black Business School. So like I said, the Black Business School is now currently $399 a month. And we have something special for you. And this is why we wanted you to wait. We wanted all the people who were not serious to fall off, and they're gone to bed or they're gone out to party and wear their red bottoms. We are actually going to show you how you can get the Black Business School all access pass for absolutely free. Absolutely free. See people going crazy in the chat. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes, we want you to have this knowledge and we want you to have this information. It is priceless information. It is extremely valuable. One piece of information could change the trajectory of your life and set you on a path towards your financial Juneteenth. And that's what we're here to do. So again, I repeat, it is all free. And you're like, okay, what's the catch, Julian? Well, here's the catch. All you have to do is join our new mastermind group, which is called the Freedom Family. It is called the Freedom Family. It is our new mastermind group that we are putting together to actually provide you with the coaching, the accountability, and the information you need to get there. So real quick, I have a question for all of you, and I want you to respond in chat. How many of you are watching this webinar alone right now in this moment? How many of you are watching this webinar alone in this moment? Me, yes, yes, right. So we're watching this webinar alone, and as Dr. Watkins said, he didn't build this empire that he's building alone. Nothing that's great has ever been built alone. Whether you look at the pyramids, whether you look at a big business, nothing has been built alone. Every success story in the world involves other people. There's no autobiography written on the face of the earth where the author is the only character in the book. Every success story involves other people. Whether you look at Warren Buffett and his mentor, Paul Graham, whether you look at Bill Gates and Paul Allen, whether you look at Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, whether you look at Jay-Z and Beyonce, every success story in the entire world involves other people. But for some reason, we as Black people have been programmed to compete against each other and go at it alone. Right? And when you go at it alone, there'll be some one-offs who make it. You'll get an Oprah here and there. But as we showed you earlier, it would take 29 Oprahs to get one Bill Gates, right? We can't settle for that. We actually have to move as a collective if we truly want to be free. It's going to be very hard for any of us to get free trying to go at it alone. When you look at Black Wall Street, which we're seeking to rebuild in Louisville, Kentucky, Black Wall Street, we're approaching that 100-year anniversary. Black Wall Street had 600 businesses, 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, 2 movie theaters, 6 private airplanes at that time, 1 hospital, 1 bank, and its own school system. And when we put this post up on Facebook, it went absolutely viral because I know that we all want this, but you have to realize that this is a crew of people. This is a family of people who decided to do this together. This wasn't one-off person here and there trying to make it happen on their own, right? We cannot succeed in that way in this country. So many of you, if you were like me, have been trying to go at it alone. You read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you watch Shark Tank on Fridays, right? And you get excited and motivated and I'm gonna go do my thing, right? And then what happens? We fall on our face. Something happens, life happens, and we get thrown off and we we fall down. And then we're like, okay, I'm back on it. I'm about to get my website up. I'm about to start this t-shirt company. I'm gonna put some words on a t-shirt and get it printed on Zazzle. And I'm gonna slang these t-shirts, right? And I'm gonna make $5 profit on each t-shirt. And we get started. And then what happens? We fall back down, right? And then we're like, okay, let me try out this multi-level marketing thing. They say I just got to get a few people in my downline, and then those people are going to get people in their downline, and the wealth is just going to flood in passively without me doing anything, right? I don't even have to sell the product. I just got to get people in, right? And we tried that. I've been there. I've done that. And it didn't work out the way that it was sold, right? And then we're like, okay, I need some help. And then we go look for help from people like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman, and they understand wealth, and they really understand white wealth, right? Granted, Susie Orman has a great story, and she came from nothing, being a waitress, right? But they understand white wealth. Very few people out there teaching us black wealth besides Dr. Watkins and Dr. Claude Anderson. And then we say, okay, this isn't working out. I'm just going to climb this corporate ladder thing and just see how far I can get. And then we realize that there's a barrier up there, that we can only get so far. Dr. Watkins talked about the air starts getting real thin. And we realize that we're limited in that no matter what we do, no matter if we perform 10 times better than the person next to us, that they're never going to let us into their old boys club. And then we fall down again. And then we're like, you know what? I'm going to go try to flip some real estate. We buy our first property, and we realize that it has asbestos or something like that. And we're back to square one again and again, because we're trying to go at it alone instead of as a community. And so we want to make sure that your trajectory is straight upward, right? Just like that $5 a day investing in stock, we want this to be your trajectory. We want you to go from point A to point Z, from 0 to 100 real quick. But obviously, when you're investing in yourself, it takes time. And we want to provide you with the instant network and the collective accountability that you actually need to succeed. And so we want to invite you to join our mastermind, which is the Freedom Family. What is the Freedom Family? The Freedom Family is a collective of 200 intelligent Black folk and family. Yes, Black folk and family, meaning that when you join the Freedom Family, anybody who is in your household is also included in the Freedom Family, right? It's kind of like your Netflix, right? You got that one Netflix password and you share it with everybody in your family, in your household. Everybody's watching different movies in different rooms, right? We want this to be a family affair. And our vision is to create generational wealth and leave a legacy. And our mission is for you to achieve your financial Juneteenth. We are looking for people who can contribute to this larger vision from all walks of life with all kinds of skill sets. We're looking for coders. We're looking for bankers. We're looking for videographers. We're looking for educators, athletes. We're looking for dentists, mechanics, teachers, consultants, investors, lawyers. We're looking for people from all walks of life who can contribute to this larger vision of recreating Black Wall Street and starting together with this group of 200 people that Dr. Watkins is going to commit his time, energy, and resources to making sure that we grow as a collective. The reason we did it this way is because we no longer want to sell information without accountability. If you look at the statistics, only about 6.8% of people complete online courses. I'm sure many of you have bought online courses before, or even bought books before and haven't read some of them, right? Because information alone isn't enough. We need the accountability to actually implement that information. Information does not help us until it's actually implemented and integrated it into our life. And now, of course, our students in the Black Business School, they're killing it. It's not a 6.8% rate, but we actually want to take our service up a level, because ultimately our goal is to become a real university. We don't just want to be an information hub, right, where there's all this information and information is expanding exponentially, and then you have to sift through what's actually important. We actually want to become a real university, and a real university that has world-class professors who are also practitioners. You know how many finance professors are out there who aren't even investing heavily, right? They just study the theory. Dr. Watkins is not only a thought leader, but he's also a practitioner, right? We want courses that give you real skills for freedom. Many of you here have degrees, whether it's an associate's degree, whether it's a bachelor's, whether it's a master's or PhD, but did that degree really give you any more degrees of freedom? In most cases, no. And we want to create courses, and we are creating courses, and we have some new ones that are coming very soon, especially in the entrepreneurship realm. I'm actually bringing my entire entrepreneurship curriculum into the Black Business School. We want to create courses that actually teach you how to become free. And then finally, we want to support you just like a college supports you with staff members and TAs. We want to support you with coaches to hold you accountable to your monthly and your annual financial goals. So the way the Freedom Family works is that over the course of a year, we'll be working together and going on this journey. And there will be a meeting, a family meeting at the beginning of the month and a family meeting in the middle of the month, right? They will all be recorded. They'll all be on webinars like this. It also includes 50 weeks of online coaching from a personal coach that you will get. You'll have 200 new relationships. I saw so many of you trying to network in the chat area, trying to form the DMV group, the North Carolina group. Guess what? We're going to facilitate all of that. so that all of you have each other's contact information, and we're going to facilitate meetups in certain regions. Imagine being able to connect with people who are always in your city, but the city's so big that you were never able to find people who are on your wavelength, who are on your level of consciousness. And then, of course, you're going to have access to all of our classes and our online group. So this is what our 30-day month looks like. At the beginning of the month, you have our first family meeting where Dr. Watkins is going to do some sort of teaching. Remember, on his live streams on Facebook and things of that nature, he's oftentimes just talking. In these groups, he's actually teaching in the way that he taught tonight, right? We're going deeper than just the tip of the iceberg. We're going all the way under. And each week, you will have an online chat with your coach who will support you and give you feedback and coach you on whatever it is that you're struggling with in order to reach your ultimate vision. And then the check marks, as you see, that's you checking off your goals, getting things done. And then you have this person who is actually holding you accountable to that. In the middle of the month is what we call a hot seat call. A hot seat is where Dr. Watkins will do live coaching, where you can sign up to be in the hot seat, tell Dr. Watkins what your financial situation is, what your freedom situation is, and he will coach you live in the moment, in the front of family. And as he's coaching you, guess what? All the family members get to benefit, and they also get to hold space for you and believe for you that which you have not believed in for yourself yet. And then at the end of the month, we celebrate our goals. So this is what the cycle looks like. We have actually attracted some of the best Black coaches in the entire country, best Black coaches, especially financial coaches. We have Tanya Rapley, who is founder of MyFab Finance. She's a certified financial educator. She is one of our coaches. We have Fatima Williams, who is a business coach. She is helping women launch their business ventures, especially personality and service-based brands. We have Wilson Muscadine, who is a financial coach and an MBA, and he is great at helping families align on their financial goals. And then we have Ty Abrams, who is a kids entrepreneur coach, and she's written a book in that space. These are the people who you will be assigned to based on your membership form once you join the Freedom family. I actually created a technology from scratch, right? We are in Afrotech, right? This is the age that we're in. We have to get digital. I've created this technology from scratch. This is the platform where you will get a profile, you get a login, you'll be able to connect with all of your family members, see where they are, to meet up in DC, to meet up in North Carolina, to meet up in Georgia. This is also where you will get coached every single week by your individual coach on your monthly goals. Right? And we can see your progress, and guess what? Everybody else is going to see your progress, and nobody wants to be at the bottom. We are going to rise together. They say water rises to its own level. Many of you are here right now tonight because you're actually the smartest in your crew. And being the smartest in your crew and in your family right now, there's nobody there to lift you up. We want to surround you with a group of people who are going to lift you up and cause you to step into your best self, to that next version of who you truly are. And so you need to surround yourself with people who are going to raise your level. As the late, great Jim Rohn said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And we actually want to give you 200 people to spend the most time with so that we elevate your game, your life, your consciousness, and of course, your path, accelerate your path to your financial Juneteenth. This is what the entire year looks like. I mean, there's no online anything out there that is going to give you the level of support. There's no university, there's no coach, there's no other opportunity out there that's going to give you the level of support. We are literally going to have our hands in your life because we love you and we care. We are going to serve as that space of tough love, that space of honesty. We're going to push you. We are not going to let you fall or slip. That is not what we are going to do. We are going to make sure that the 200 families that start with us are the 200 families that finish throughout the year, and that all of these families are steps closer to achieving their financial Juneteenth. So we thought about how to price this particular mastermind, and don't be scared by this number because that is not what you will be, what it actually costs. When we look at Dr. Watkins' price to go speak, right, his speaking fee, when we look at his one-on-one coaching rate, we're like, look, the 12 live trainings, the coaching calls, and then the weekly coaching from a life/financial coach, together that would be about $15,000, $16,000. But when we look at our community, we're like, that's too much to charge our community. How can we figure this out? So this is not what the price is going to be today, even though a la carte, that's what it's valued at. So not only do you get the Black Business School for free when you join the Freedom Family, which if you were to pay the Black Business School monthly at $399 would be $4,788, you also are going to get up to 60% off the 48-hour business school. The 48-hour business school is our new flagship program where if you have a business idea, you can come to us and in 48 hours, we will have your idea off the ground and running. We're considering doing the next one on a cruise. So here's how it works. Every month that you are in the Freedom Family, you get an additional 5% discount off the 48-hour business school. The tuition for that business school is actually $4,000. So this total value, if you're with the Freedom Family for a year, is actually a $2,400 value, okay? Now, again, things are starting to add up. This is the total value. Again, the value is not your price, okay? On top of that, we're doing something new and special. We want to be in your life every single day, not just on the weekly calls, not just in the coaching. So you are actually going to get a monthly subscription box. How many of you love getting boxes from Amazon Prime? We are actually going to send you a monthly subscription box of information, tools, and resources that are going to continue to accelerate the financial awareness and literacy of you and your family. So we'll be sending you Dr. Watkins' books as he writes new books. We'll be sending you books from other authors in our community who have new ideas about how to move us all towards our financial Juneteenth. We're going to send you the stock market flashcards, the melanated mogul cards if you have kids. We're going to actually be working with Black vendors and actually sending you products from Black-owned companies so that we can just get in the habit of consuming products from our own people. We're going to send you new DVDs like the one we have coming out on Black Love soon. These are going to come to your mailbox in the mail. This is not just an all digital thing. This is actually going to come to your mail. It's going to be nights where you can go watch the Black Wall Street with your family and have a discussion about it so that everybody's consciousness in your household is raising up on a monthly basis. Okay? So you can see this is all the value that we're giving you. On top of that, for those of you who didn't go to All Black National Convention this year in Louisville, it was absolutely amazing. The VIP tickets for All Black National Convention are $499. With your membership to the Freedom Family, you get 2 VIP tickets absolutely free. So that's $1,000 value. The VIP tickets is not just for the event, it's for private sessions with Dr. Watkins and book signings and things of that nature. And given that we have the Freedom Family, we're probably going to do another special event just for Freedom Family members when you all arrive in Philadelphia this year. Okay, so that's like at $24,000 now. And then last thing that we are adding to this opportunity, we want your businesses all to succeed. And so we are offering a listing on yourworld.net. We were revamping that site. You can see the traffic that we get on that site, 223,000 total visits. You will have your business listed there. We have We Buy Black and I Buy Black. They're selling the products. We're actually creating the same thing, but we're doing that for services. And we're going to list all of your services there so that you all can start doing business with each other. And of course, take advantage of all of this traffic that comes through our networks. So this is the offer right here. It's over $25,000 worth of goodness and financial empowerment. We were like, what can we do to make this an amazing year for everyone who is involved? And we're limited it to 200 for right now, and we'll see how it goes. But of course, you're not paying $25,000 a day. We wouldn't ask that from anyone. But even if it was only $10,000, wouldn't it be worth $10,000 one time to have an online business that helps you get paid $1,000 a month forever? Would you pay $10,000 once to have something that paid you $1,000 for the rest of your life? That's like a no-brainer, right? Now, if all this did was help prepare you to buy a rental property that had a $10,000 positive cash flow per year, would you pay $10,000 once to have a rental property that paid you $10,000 in positive cash flow a year? Or even if you found somebody in the Freedom Family who you could go in half on a rental property. For instance, I'm going in half on a rental property with my best friend, right? It's a duplex. And we're going to split everything that goes into that. Some of you can't afford a down payment. When you're buying real estate for investment property, it's usually 25% down, right? And some of you don't have that savings right now. But if you could partner with other people who are in your area, like you were doing in the chat, then all of a sudden this becomes viable. Now you pulled your money together and you're buying 8 apartments when each one of you alone could not have afforded a duplex, right? And then would it be worth $10,000 to you if the only thing that happened was that you or your kids learned the power of compound interest? Dr. Watkins showed you on several occasions throughout tonight's teaching the power of compound interest. If you just got that, not just the information, because many of us have gotten the information about compound interest, but we did not actually apply it. You're going to have an accountability coach to help you actually apply these principles to make sure that your future looks better than your present. So Dr. Watkins wanted to touch more lives, but he charges $800 an hour for coaching, and he rarely does it. It has to be a right fit. And so we know that this is prohibitive for some people, and for a lot of people. And so the main reason we're doing this and making this offer is for affordability. And so here's everything you get. You get the Black Business School, you get the 12 live trainings, you get the 12 coaching calls, you get weekly coaching from a certified coach, you get 60% off the 48-hour business school, you get the monthly mailed subscription box, you get 2 all-Black National Convention tickets, and a business listing on yourblackworld.net. Again, it will not be $25,000, and it will not even be $10,000 to be part of the Freedom Family. In order to be part of the Freedom Family, the investment is only $3,999 for the entire year. Remember, an MBA was going to cost you $366,000 for 2 years. For 1 year, we are charging literally 1% of that for 1 year to help you achieve your financial Juneteenth. So you have a few options. The first one feels free, but it will cost you the most in the long run and the short run, and that's you do nothing. That's you keep doing exactly what you've been doing, expecting different results. As Einstein said, when insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, right? It just doesn't make sense. So it feels free. Oh yeah, no, I didn't invest in myself. And you feel like you got away with something. But at the end of the day, if I come and knock on your door a year from now, will you be in the same situation? What will your actual balance sheet look like? What will your cash flows actually look like a year from now if you don't take advantage of an opportunity like this? So option 2, for those of you who don't have $3,999 cash right now, then you can actually start for $399 a day. Remember, the business school, the Black Business School, as of today, was literally $399 a month. And for those of you who are already in the Black Business School, you can upgrade and join us at that level. And for those of you who are, if you're already in one course, if you already have the all access package at $399, you will get upgraded into the Freedom Family. So that's probably almost half the Freedom Family right there. As you can see in the lower right, I have an early bird bonus surprise. All you have to do, if you're ready to actually get started on this right now, you can go to www.thefreedomfamilies.com/now. www.thefreedomfamilies.com/now. And for those of you who go right now, I have a surprise for you over there. It's going to make your eyes go wide when you see the surprise that's over there. And it's only for the first few people who go over and take advantage of it. Okay, so for those of you who are still here, why only $399? We wanted it to be low enough to be affordable, but high enough to keep out those who aren't really serious. If you price something too low, then you start getting people who aren't that serious. And for us, we just see money as a form of commitment, money as a form of energy. And if you're really serious, then you would take advantage of this. If you're not willing to invest at least if I told you that freedom only costs $13.30 a day, like, would you buy it? If freedom only costs $13.30 a day, you can have your freedom. All you have to do when you wake up is deposit $13.30 per day here, and you'll have your freedom for the day. Would y'all buy the freedom? Yes, right? And so if you're not willing to invest at least $13.30 per day into your freedom, then it's going to be really hard to get free. I wish I could say that freedom was free, but freedom does have a price, and that price is your investment in yourself, okay? Now, what else can you get for $399? Many of you have been to Beyonce concerts and things of that nature. You can see the ticket prices in the Formation World Tour were anywhere from $353 to $741. And you had a 3-hour experience. But unless you have stock in the Beehive, you got no additional financial gain from that investment. It might have been a great night and a great time, and Beyonce and Jay-Z are approaching $1 billion because of your gift to them. But did it really empower you financially? How about instead we actually get your money and your financial life information rather than going to the Formation Tour, right? That would have been a better investment to actually get your life and your financial life information than to go to the Formation concert, right? So option 3 is the actual one-time payment of $3,999. If you are ready to commit all year, we reward you for that. And that is a $798 savings if you're ready to go all in and commit to this process of Dr. Watkins actually holding your hand and guiding you towards financial freedom. As Harriet Tubman said, I would have freed more slaves if they had known that they were actually slaves, right? Some people don't know it yet. And Dr. Watkins is the Harriet Tubman of financial freedom for Black people. And he's ready to take your hand and guide you to the promised land if you are ready to commit in this way. So in terms of us taking on all the risk, we have a satisfaction guaranteed policy, meaning that literally you can cancel anytime by email, no questions asked whatsoever, and you will not be billed for the following month. And if you do cancel, you can keep any one program that you choose until the end of the quarter. The quarter is 3 months. Every 3 months is a quarter. So you can keep any one program until the end of the quarter if you cancel. You still get to keep your 48-hour business school discount that you accrued. You can still keep anything that we mailed to you in the subscription box. You get to keep that. And then we'll still leave up your listing on yourblackworld.net if you cancel your membership. There's no hassle. This is not a contract whatsoever. If it's not valuable for you, then we're not trying to hold on to your money. We only want to serve those who are actually getting benefit from the program. Okay, so we have tons of testimonials of people that we supported. Again, this initiative is new, so we don't have testimonials from this initiative. You are going to be our next success stories. But Dr. Watkins' work has touched so many people. He's turned mothers who have had young men who are quote unquote bad in school, turn them into actual entrepreneurs who are making money. We've turned people who had an idea into a real life product. We've helped people build their service businesses, and they will all tell you on the next page. Just go to thefreedomfamilies.com/now, and you'll see real stories of how Dr. Watkins' message and his curriculum in the Black Business School have actually transformed these individuals' lives. So please do not invest in another coach, a course, a conference, or a college before you try this out, because we give you all four. We're going to give you a coach to support you on your journey. You're going to get access to all the courses in the Black Business School. You're going to get not only the 48-hour business school, but also the All Black National Convention tickets. And then we're going to create that collegial environment where you have people who are actually on your wavelength, where you no longer have to be the smartest in your crew, but you have something that you contribute to the crew of smart people, right? So we are looking for doctors, lawyers, accountants, plumbers. We are looking for people from all over to be part of the Freedom family. We are trying to create a self-sustaining community. So as Dr. Watkins says, there's a price of procrastination. Today, it is $399 to get started, or $3,999 for the year. If you wait, there may not be any spots left. For this pilot, for this experiment, we're only holding 200 spots. There were over 3,000 people on this webinar. And then we have 2 more webinars tomorrow and the day after. So the price will go up if there are spots to $499 or $4,999. And when the prices go up, none of the bonuses will be included. Okay. So again, the Black Business School was already at $399 as of before this webinar. And we decided for the same price that the Black Business School was moments ago, we're actually going to give you that and all of this. Okay. So my big aha moment around money was that I'm not supposed to work for money. Money is supposed to work for me. Right. And if you have money just sitting in your savings account, then guess what? What that really reflects beyond your emergency fund, right? What that really reflects is that you don't understand money. Money is called currency. Why? Because it's supposed to have a current. It's supposed to flow. And what slows down economies, what slows down our path to our financial Juneteenth is when we hoard money. And hoarding money doesn't have to just be rich people who are in the 1%. If you are putting money under the mattress, just like Dr. Watkins' grandma, right? Then you are not understanding how money actually works. And we want to change that belief and that mindset and get you to really understand money so you can actually make money work for you. So you have to understand the difference between expensive and expansive. Expense is money that leaves forever and never returns to you. Expansive is an investment. An investment is money that leaves and returns with more friends. So every dollar that you spend, if you are intentional, anytime you touch your wallet, you say, is this an investment? Is this expansive or is this expensive? That's how you should look at every purchase that you make. So are you thinking right now, this is expensive, I can't afford to do it right now? If that's the case, then that's probably exactly why you need this right now. Or are you thinking it's expansive? I can't afford not to do this right now. We are an expansive universe. The universe is continuing to expand and create and multiply. And we need to be in alignment with that. There are other people who are expanding while there are people who are constricting. And we want you to live an abundant life. And we know that we are certain we can help you get there. So you can get all of this, the Black Business School, the 12 live trainings, the 12 coaching calls, the weekly coaching from a certified coach, the 48-hour business school discount, the monthly subscription box, the 2 all-Black National Convention tickets, the business listing on yourblackworld.net. You can get all of this starting for $3.99 today. Just go to www.thefreedomfamilies.com/now, and that's where you can see everything and get started. This is the entire package. It's literally $25,000 worth of value that we put together, right? Again, the Black Business School was $3.99 on its own as of just before this webinar. And we said, we're going to give more because we want to create more success stories. We want to free these 200 people who commit to themselves. And here is the secret for those of you who went early and were like, I'm ready. The secret on the other page is that it's not $3.99 tonight. It's actually $3.49. If you actually go there right now, hopefully there was a limit on that. So you want to make sure that if you are serious, you click over and you go see that. The early bird bonus is actually $3.49, and you will be locked in at the $3.49 rate for your entire tenure in the Freedom Family if you start now. So that was the secret for those who are hungry and were ready to go. It was only $3.49. I told you it was $3.99, but when you went over there, you saw that the $3.49 discount code was already applied for the first people who took advantage. So here's what's going to happen next. You're going to join the Freedom Family. You're going to have your visioning call with your coach. They're going to help you create a 90-day plan for the first quarter. You're going to get introduced to the group. You're going to start your online courses in the Black Business School. We're going to have our monthly team meeting and our orientation and kickoff call. You're going to have your weekly online coaching with your coach, mid-month hot seat call, and we're going to begin creating generational wealth, not individually, but together. So Dr. Watkins is going to come back on in just a second, and we're going to start answering questions. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I saw some people raising their hands just a second ago. It takes a village to raise the bar. That's exactly, we're putting that into practice through the Freedom Family. We didn't just want it to be a book. We wanted it to be an actual community. That gift will be sent to you via email, so look out for that. That book is normally $15, and Dr. Watkins is giving that to you as a gift for staying this long on the webinar. And I want to leave you with my final words of wisdom, which I call my wow, which is action minus intention is reaction. And many of us have been living life and navigating white supremacy from a reactionary standpoint. Oh, they did this to me, let me go react, let me go march. They did this to me now, let me go react. And if you live your entire life in a state of reaction, then you actually never end up living your life. And so I actually believe in us being proactivists, not reactionists, but proactivists. And so the next one is intention minus action equals regret. A lot of people have good intentions. I want to start that business. I want to invest in the stock market. I want to buy real estate, but then they never take action. And then at the end of the day, they are left with regret. And then finally, there's intention plus action. When you combine intention plus action, that's what's actually going to get you the results that you truly desire. So with that, I want to say thank you so much for being here. We hope that you got a ton of value from the webinar, and we are going to open it up to questions now. I see Lawrence jumped on.
So Boyce is having some technical difficulties with his computer over there. He just got a new laptop yesterday. Okay. So